Hey guys! Part 18 of What If Naruto Unlocked His True Potential. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 72, Bonding with Fu. Naruto yawned as he stretched his muscles, waking himself up more. He then proceeded to pull himself out of bed. His eyes then gravitated back to the bed and the sleeping figure still laying in it. Hinata moved slightly in bed at Naruto's awakening, but she did not seem to wake up. Instead, she moved slightly to her left and took up the central spot of the bed. Heh. She's so cute. A small pink tint developed on Naruto's face as he chuckled to himself. It had been a while since they shared a bed together, but it was a nice feeling for him to be able to sleep together with her. It helped him fall asleep faster and be more refreshed. Not wanting to disturb her sleep, Naruto quietly got dressed for the day and proceeded to walk out of the bedroom. He then walked into the main room of Fu's house. Sitting on the couch, with a book in her hand, was his fellow Jinchuriki. She proceeded to put the book down, however, upon noticing his presence. "Morning. Sleep well?" Fu questioned. "Yes, I did, thanks," Naruto replied with a smile. "Your bed was super comfy." "Well, I'm glad." She smiled back. Her smile then turned playful as her eyes went back to the bedroom door. "That Hinata girl is your girlfriend, right? I hope you two didn't do anything in that bed last night. That's the one I actually sleep in, so I hope I don't have to clean it too much and dash." "Okay, hold up, we didn't do anything like that," Naruto quickly interrupted, his face turning bright red. "We literally just slept." "So you're..." Fu giggled to herself, which only caused Naruto's blush to redden further. Her smile then started to lighten into a smaller, more natural one, and she relaxed further into her couch. "I have to say, though, she seems nice. As does Shikamaru and Anko. You have good friends." "I do." Naruto grinned in response. He opened his mouth to say something else, but he proceeded to recall the conversation he had been having with Fu in the greenhouse room about her situation in Takigakure, and how she immediately changed personas and topics the moment Anko walked into the room. A slight frown developed on his face as he began to shake his head. "So, do you think they're good people then? That good humans exist?" he asked. "Huh!" Fu blinked in response before starting to frown. "I mean, sure, yeah. I just said they seem nice. Hopefully you can get to know them better," Naruto said, smiling again. "And maybe you can find more people dash, Naruto. I get what you're trying to say, but please stop." Fu spoke up, her frown turning into a scowl. "I've spent so long just trying to find someone in Taki who gave a shit about me as a person, and I couldn't find someone. The closest is Shibuki, and even then, he's just someone who feels bad about me and doesn't seem to go beyond that. I'm happy you found people in your life like that, and I believe that they're good people, but don't try and push me into finding someone here. It's not gonna happen." Naruto's smile disappeared as he shook his head. "You never know, Dash. I do know." Fu interrupted again, her voice raising. "Just stop, damn it." Silence filled the living room for a moment. Fu turned away from Naruto and reached for her book again. Naruto looked downward, frowning, as he brought his hand to his face in thought. The two remained quiet, Fu trying to focus on her book while Naruto thought to himself, for roughly 2 minutes. After getting his thoughts together, Naruto sighed and shook his head. "I'm not trying to step over my boundaries or anything. Sorry," he apologized. Fu looked up from her book and back at the blonde. "I don't really know your situation anything other than what you've told me. I shouldn't be an ass and keep pushing for something. I'm sorry. There's nothing to apologize for you," Fu said with a sigh. "I'm sorry for biting back on you. I know you're trying to help and I appreciate that. It's just, I don't know. I'm not going to find this help here in this village. Well, at least you have people like me who will always be there if you need me," Naruto offered with a smile. The mint-haired Kunoichi put down her book back on the table again and proceeded to stand up. Her eyes started to slightly water, but she quickly shook her head and stopped herself. A large grin developed on her lips as she proceeded to hug Naruto, who quickly returned it. "Thanks, Naruto," she told him. "Anytime," he replied. The two pulled away from their hug and smirked at each other. They were quiet for a moment, but the tension that had been in the room had dissipated. Naruto's eyes proceeded to wander over the room towards the door to the wide-open room that Fu used to plan her pranks. A mischievous grin developed on the blonde's face as he turned back to face her. So, I've heard all these stories about you being this prankster and shit, but how legit are you? Naruto asked. Pretty legit if you asked me. I've got a creative mind for these things, Fu replied with a similar mischievous grin of her own. Why you asking? I'd like to compare, if you will. The grin on his face proceeded to widen. Both Jinchuriki rushed into Fu's planning room as they began to work immediately on some sort of prank. Shibuki sighed peacefully as he put on his casual attire. He had a lot of paperwork to get done with today, but he decided that he wanted to get in a good walk around the village before really getting started on anything to give his mind and body a good break. The young village leader was still uncertain about how to best handle the new information given to him about Akatsuki, and thought it would be a good idea to relax slightly before figuring out the best course of action. After getting fully dressed, Shibuki proceeded to walk out of the village leader's mansion. The moment he stepped out of his residence, however, he felt himself step on a trip wire. Immediately, he turned around and reached to his side for a kunai, prepared to fight. Instead, he watched as various seals on the outside walls of his mansion started to light up. They proceeded to activate, and covered his mansion in orange and green paint, depicting various foxes and horned beetles. Shibuki-sama! The village leader turned his head to see Seijai rushing over to the building, a scowl on his face. So I see you were hit by this prank as well. Shibuki covered his mouth, resisting the urge to snort in laughter. I suppose I did mention to Fu that I wanted to paint my home. He was unable to control his laughter after a moment, and it started to come out. Heh. I guess she got a head start on it for me. Well, I'm glad you find it amusing. Taki's Jonin commander sighed in response. I didn't find it very amusing. Neither did many of the shops that got hit by this prank. Oh? Shibuki's laughter faded as a curious look developed on his face. How many other places were painted? Enko, Shikamaru, and Hinata were openly gaping as they, along with the two Jinchuriki, walked through the village. Nearly every store in Taki's market district was covered in either green or orange paint. Both Naruto and Fu were snickering to each other as they passed more and more houses. Okay, didn't you both say you worked on those just this morning? How the fuck did you get these many buildings painted? Shikamaru asked. Fuinjutsu. Naruto replied simply as he pocketed his hands. Easily the most useful skill anyone could have. I must agree with that. Man, we were able to hit so many more houses than I ever could, Fu stated proudly as she clapped her hands together. Just imagine what other damage we can cause together. Enko's wide-open expression immediately vanished, and she immediately cracked her knuckles, her eyes moving back and forth between Naruto and Fu. Okay, I'm just gonna say this once. Try and prank me and I'll kick both of your asses faster than either of you can say Taki. So plan ahead, but I'd better damn well be not one of your targets. Instantly, both Naruto and Fu froze in place as Enko began to leak killing intent. Both started to laugh nervously, rubbing the back of their heads respectively. Don't worry, that's not gonna happen, Fu said quickly. Why yeah. Why you're on my good side, Anko-sensei, Naruto added. Damn straight I am, she said proudly. Wow. Shikamaru shook his head, snickering to himself. All that confidence just flew out the window. In their defense, Anko-sensei is still an intimidating woman, Hinata noted, giggling as well. Naruto was about to respond to their conversation, but he stopped himself as he became aware of the looks the villagers were giving them. A few of the Taki citizens were starting to whisper loudly as they walked by. Two of them, sitting on a bench, were being particularly loud with their opinions. That bug bitch really messed up the entire marketing district. This is why no one likes her. Well, that and her being a demon and all. To think she's with those Konoha shinobi. Ugh. They're gonna end up hating our village. I heard that Kamoshida-san saw that blonde-haired Konoha shinobi with her when she was doing her pranks. Really? Ugh, she's infected one of the Konoha shinobi then. That village is going to hate us when he comes back. A scowl developed on Naruto's face as he stopped walking. The rest of his team and Fu stood in place for a moment, as Naruto shook his head and started walking over to the two loud Taki civilians. I'll be back. Give me a moment, he said. Don't waste your breath, Naruto, Fu hissed. They're not gonna change or anything if you yell at them. Just let them be and move on. She's right, Anko spoke up over him. The blonde turned his attention to his former Jonin sensei to yell at her for that statement, but his words died on his tongue as he watched her crack her knuckles and walk forward. And since they're not gonna change or shit, let me yell at them and put the fear of God in their minds instead, Enko stated sharply as she walked forward. The group of four stood still for a moment as they watched Enko reach the bench. She immediately stomped on the ground in front of them, which caused them to divert their attention away from each other and towards the Konoha Jonin. Listen here, assholes. You two must think mighty highly of yourselves to talk shit with each other while the person you're shitting on is just walking by. You've got a lot of nerve, she growled. However, just cause you two can talk shit freely doesn't mean you're free from consequences, and for the next few minutes, I'm your consequence. Fu's eyes widened as she watched Enko lay into the two Taki civilians, berating them for their words and judgment. She then heard snickering, which caused her to turn her attention towards Shikamaru. Heh, they look like they're gonna piss themselves, Shikamaru noted. Enko-sensei is the second in command of the TNI department still, after all. She's good at this, Hinata said as she brought her hand to her face to conceal her laughter. Maybe next time they'll think more when they decide to gossip. Serves them right, Naruto said as he crossed his arms, scowling. Fu stood there awkwardly as she watched Enko finish up her lecture. The two Taki civilians would turn their attention from her to Fu and Naruto. She thought she could see one of them mouth "I'm sorry" before they both bolted away. Watching someone defend her like that was something she was not used to. Fu was uncertain exactly what she was supposed to say or do. So, that went well, Enko said with a chuckle as she walked back to the group. I think I went a little overboard, but whatever. Bastards like that need lessons drilled into their heads. Nah, you just yelled at them and leaked killing intent. That was just enough, Shikamaru said. You didn't have to do that, Fu said quietly, frowning. I mean, I didn't, but I did. And Naruto would have if I didn't. As would Shikamaru or Hinata, Enko said with a shrug of her shoulders. The other three Konoha shinobi nodded their heads in agreement. I don't know these people and they're being jackasses, so I felt more than obligated to tell them off. Well, thanks. Fu let a small smile cross her lips. That was pretty cool, not gonna lie. Hell yeah. 'Cause I'm the coolest, Enko declared. So, the market seems kinda boring right now, Shikamaru spoke up, turning his attention towards Fu. Got anything else you want to do right now? To be honest, Enko spoke as she cracked her knuckles. I'm still a little heated after going off on those shitheads. How about a spar to cool down? A spar? Fu repeated the word as a smirk developed on her lips. Sure. I haven't had a good real battle in a little while. I'm down. She then turned around towards the lake surrounding the village. Follow me. I got a perfect spot. Naruto, Enko, Hinata, and Shikamaru all nodded in understanding as they followed her onto the water. Fu had led the Konoha shinobi onto the lake towards a spot of water on the lake that was seemingly colored a darker shade of blue than the rest of the surrounding water. Then Nanabai Jinchuriki walked directly and made the ram hand sign. Immediately, she began to descend into the water. The Konoha shinobi followed behind, going onto the same spot and making the hand sign. They, too, started to sink into the water. The group proceeded to land in a large, open cave. The walls and ceilings of the cave had sharp, pointed onyx-colored rocks, but the surface of the cave was flat. Despite the hole at the top of the cave being the only entrance and exit to it, the cave was quite lit. I look the aesthetic here, Enko noted with a smirk. This place seems kinda quaint. There's actually a few places like this around Lake around Taki. This one is just a little sparring area, but some of the other caves serve different purposes, like connecting to the tunnels underneath the village that can take you to the base of the tree that our village was built around, as well as to the entrance to the village, Fu explained. She then rubbed the back of her sheepishly. I probably shouldn't have told you that, 'cause now you all can probably find a way to get into the village without help. But whatever. I assume you all are fairly trustworthy and aren't gonna try and lead a Konoha invasion on the place. You know we wouldn't. Also, we'll pretend we didn't hear any of that, Hinata said with a giggle. I mean, to be honest, I probably will genuinely forget that fact, Naruto admitted with a shrug. Even better, Fu snorted in response. She then walked forward, creating some distance between herself and the Konoha shinobi. So, anyone have a preference how we do this? Do we want to do individual sparring one match at a time, do a everyone for themselves kind of thing, or teaming up? Well, we have odd numbers, so we can't do team stuff, Shikamaru said as he pocketed his hands and walked away as well, creating more distance. And I tend to find free-for-all stuff kinda too chaotic. So let's do some one-on-one sparring. Then you mind if I get in on the action first? Anko asked as she cracked her knuckles. Well, the sparring was your idea. It's only fair, Hinata said with a giggle. The former genin of Team 3 stepped backwards alongside the wall of the cave. Anko reached for the large scroll on her back. A poof of smoke filled the air as she unsealed the scroll, revealing the Shibuki blast sword. Ooh. Fancy, I think you should be a fun challenge. Fu grinned as she brought her hands together and ran through a few hand signs. Ready? Damn straight, Anko replied as she gripped her sword. Secret ninjutsu, scaled sneak jutsu. Fu took in a deep breath before exhaling quickly, releasing a fine, white powder into the air between herself and Anko. Upon exiting her mouth, the power was illuminated, creating a blinding light that filled the entire cave. Ah! Anko groaned, closing her eyes momentarily. Damn, that's bright. Naruto hissed as he turned away. Is that light coming straight from that powder? How is it so bright? Shikamaru grumbled, closing his eyes. This jutsu, this would be overwhelming for me if I had my Byakugan activated. Hinata realized as she struggled to focus on the two women. This could be another counter to it. I should ask Fu-san to spar next to try and combat this. Noticing that Anko was currently immobile, Fu rushed forward at her, attempting to land a punch directly on her. Just as her right fist was about to make contact, Anko, struggling to open her eyes, quickly blocked with her left arm. Fu then punched again with her left fist. Anko was unable to block this one in time and was sent backwards slightly. Wind style, drilling air bullets. Fu opened her mouth once again and released, this time, bullets of compressed air at Anko. Before they could make contact, however, Anko made a hand gesture, causing the scroll of her blast sword to unravel and form a barrier around her. Explosive blade technique, explosion barrier. The explosive tags on the scroll activated, causing a massive detonation before the air bullets could make contact. The resulting explosions caused massive wind and dust to scatter on the battlefield, blowing both Anko and Fu backwards slightly. The white powder Fu released also dissipated. The two kunoichi readjusted themselves as they prepared to get into position to strike at each other again. So I didn't know that you were starting to be called Mitarashi Anko of the Blast Sword, but I guess the name is true. That sword is cool shit, Fu stated with a grin. You haven't even seen half of what it can do. Anko grinned back, gripping her sword. That white powder thing was pretty cool yourself. Thanks. It's a natural chemical that Komiai produces in his body that releases light in a way that can blind literally anyone. Literally the perfect defensive tool for an insect. Or in my case, the perfect offense. The Jinchuriki noted as she made the same hand signs. Within seconds, Fu opened her mouth and exhaled the same fine, white powder from her mouth. Anko quickly made hand signs of her own before releasing the wind style, great breakthrough. A gust of wind rushed at the oncoming powder, causing it to dissipate before it could brighten up the room. Anko then charged forward at Fu, swinging her Shibuki blast sword. Fu moved away in time, but Anko made a hand sign, causing the scroll on the sword to unravel slightly and send a few explosive tags floating in the air towards the Jinchuriki. She proceeded to jump into the air, avoiding the resulting explosions. It's good to see that powder is easy to blow away when you're just starting to use it, Anko noted. That's fair, I suppose. However, that's not even remotely all I can do, Fu retorted. The Jinchuriki was still airborne. Before she could start her descent downward, her body started to become encased in red chakra. Two tails of chakra developed around her body, but the tails almost resembled wings. These wings proceeded to flap and Fu remained airborne. Hold on, that's the Nanabai's chakra, right? Hinata asked, her eyes widening. And she's using it to fly? Well, the Nanabai is a beetle. It does have wings. Shikamaru mumbled in response softly. He, too, was focused on the eyes. Holy shit, that's so cool! Naruto exclaimed before he closed his eyes for a moment. Damn it, Kurama, I wish I could do that too. I am a fox. How the hell would I be able to fly? The Kyuubi retorted. So, you're using the Nanabai's power. And you can fly cause of it. Anko noted. She readjusted her sword's position so she could make a series of hand signs. Guess I ought to step up my game for a moment. Fire style, Flare aura! Chakra surrounded Anko's body, forming into the shape and color of red flames. She then proceeded to clap her hands, creating circular fireballs out of the fire concentrated in her hands. Fire style, Hellfire Rain! Anko proceeded to chuck the fireballs into the air at Fu. The Jinchuriki proceeded to fly away, avoiding the attacks. Anko proceeded to run through hand signs, causing the fireballs in the air to change direction and launch themselves at Fu once again. She then proceeded to fly upwards, avoiding the attacks once again. Fu continued flying until she reached the ceiling of the cave. She then rocketed forwards toward Anko's body. Her body began to rotate in a circular pattern as she extended her right fist outward. Takigakure Hurricane! Anko jumped away just in time. Fu's fist collided against the ground, creating a massive crater that caused rock and dust to scatter. As Anko moved backwards and was trying to adjust her position, Fu proceeded to fly directly at Anko once again. The Konoha Jonin blocked her punch with the hilt of her sword, but the force knocked her backwards slightly. Fu punched again, taking advantage of Anko's stunned state. Before her fist connected with Anko's face, however, Anko was able to strike at the ground with her blast sword. The ground underneath Fu exploded just as Anko was knocked back, causing the Jinchuriki to get blasted away as well. Both kunoichi recovered on the ground within seconds. They were starting to breathe a little heavily, but both had an excited grin on their faces. Gotta say, your taijutsu hits hard. I'm very impressed. Anko noted. Thanks. Fu replied. Your reflexes are great as well. You make for an interesting opponent. As they both prepared to strike back at each other, Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru looked at Anko and Fu intently, all watching the fight in amazement. Fu fights hard. I can definitely see she's a capable shinobi. Shikamaru noted with a smirk. Heh, she'd be pretty fun to fight against, I think. I'm already interested after seeing that white powder jutsu. Hinata admitted, her right hand going up to her chin in thought. I need to learn as much as I can about a potential Byakugan counter. Hey, if you all are wanting to fight Fu, then get in line. I call next, Naruto declared sharply. All three members of Team 3 watched intently as their former sensei continued her spar with the Nanabai Jinchuriki. Father, do you sense that? Kariudo Seijai was sitting down in a chair in his home, reading a book, when he turned up at the sound of a voice. He looked up and saw his daughter, Asuna, standing in the room with a concerned look on her face. What specifically are you speaking of? He questioned. Seriously? Asuna blinked in response before frowning. You don't sense all of the new chakra signatures that seem to be appearing in the village? I feel them. I really feel dash. It's probably the Konoha shinobi that came here yesterday, Seijai said quickly with a chuckle. I'm sure you're just getting a feel for their chakra signatures. Huh! His daughter blinked again before shaking her head. No. Hell no. I remembered when they arrived yesterday. This isn't that. I'm getting multiple new chakra signatures. That's not the case, Seijai again replied. Actually, I think it just feels like multiple chakra signatures. If I recall correctly, I think they may be sparring right now. Sparring? Asuna's frown deepened. Surely you sense Fu's chakra, correct? Her channeling the Nanabai? The other signatures are the Konoha shinobi with her, trying to keep up. Feels quite powerful, doesn't it? Seijai said with a chuckle. I'd hate to have to fight on their level. I suppose that could be the case. Asuna sighed in response. Is that all you wanted to talk about? Would you like to get lunch soon? Her father questioned. A small smile developed on Asuna's lips as she nodded her head. If you want to, sure. Let me get ready though, okay? With those words, the girl left the room, leaving Takigakure's Jonin commander alone. With his daughter gone, he brought his hands to his face and sighed, shaking his head. Asuna, please do not hate me for this. I have to do what he wants me to do. Seijai mumbled to himself. He did sense the same multiple chakra signatures entering the village, just as his daughter had. That was his signal. Tonight was going to be the night. It was going to happen. Taki, remain strong against this onslaught. Seijai closed his eyes in prayer. And for the love of God, may one of you kill me before I do more harm than I desire. With another deep sigh, Seijai opened his eyes and began getting prepared to go out with his daughter for what he expected to be the last time. That was some good shit. You're a hell of a fighter, Anko stated with a laugh. After Anko and Fu had completed their spar, and Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru had gotten their own chance to fight her, they returned to her home for a late lunch to celebrate. She proceeded to prepare sukiyaki for the group over a hot pot in her kitchen. As are all of you, Fu replied with a smirk. I appreciated the chance to fight, though. Honestly, it's been a little while since I've gotten a chance to fight much. Felt like I was getting a little rusty, so that was good for me. You call that rusty? Shikamaru asked. Well, I never go on missions here, she grumbled. Honestly, the last time I got a good chance to fight was back when Utakata visited. You guys gave me another needed chance to actually test myself. Oh yeah? How'd that go? When Utakata came around? Naruto asked with a smile. I haven't seen him in a while. He was a lot of fun. A tad serious, but that Hataru girl he was with helped balance that out. Fu noted with a chuckle. By the way, they're totally a couple, right? I couldn't tell. They have to be, Hinata said with giggle. I can tell that they seriously care about each other. Don't think they're official yet, though. Utakata seemed fairly oblivious to her feelings for him, like another Jinchuriki I know. Shikamaru commented with a shrug. Hey! Naruto scowled at his best friend. I'm the one who asked her out, you know? Roughly a year late on that. Enko added with a snort. Naruto, from the day I met you guys I could tell she was crushing on you hard. How you never noticed I'll never know. A blush developed on Hinata's face as she poked her fingers together. Well, I think I wasn't that, obvious when around him. Fuck that. Enko quickly refuted that. Incredibly obvious to his face. Shikamaru added with a smirk. Fu snickered to herself as her eyes moved from Hinata to Naruto's slightly red-tinted face. I can't really comment, but I don't think you both would be as red as you are if they weren't right. Shut up. Naruto grumbled. Fu continued to laugh. Her eyes moved away from Naruto towards his other friends. A smile developed on her lips as she watched Enko and Shikamaru laughing and continuing to tease their friends, who were both getting even redder. The Nanabai Jinchuriki was really starting to use to their company. She was already hoping that the four would be staying in Taki for a little while longer. Keikaku dash. The Takigekyo shinobi was unable to finish his statement. He coughed up blood and fell to the ground. He joined a pile of other Takigekyo shinobi, all lying in piles of blood. A smirk developed on Kakuzu's face as he walked forward into a small building at the roots of the giant tree. Haiden and Suyen followed him inside the building. The former had a bored look on his face while the latter was looking at the building with excitement. The inside of the building was a single plain, basic wooden room. The only thing of note was a small glass bottle with a cork that was entirely filled with water. Haiden rolled his eyes as his eyes focused on the bottle. So, what's so special about that water that those Taki guys were guarding this thing? Haiden asked. That water is the hero's water. It is produced from the tree only once every 100 years and has the ability to increase a person's chakra tenfold. Suyen snapped back in response. His eyes then moved to the water in fascination as a grin developed on his lips. I always wanted to drink that water even once. It was gonna be a crux for my plan to take down this village. You can have some of it. Fair warning though, this water is supposed to shorten a person's lifespan after consumption, Kakuzu said with a shrug. We're shinobi. We aren't supposed to live long lives. Only accomplish what we need to and live after a life of fulfillment. Suyen shrugged his shoulders. What a simple view on life. Kakuzu chuckled to himself as brought the water bottle to his mouth. He lowered his mask and proceeded to drink, chugging the water until it reached a fourth of what it had initially possessed. He then tossed the bottle to Suyen. Drink what's left. Humph, was hoping for more honestly, but this should do for the job. Suyen frowned but nodded his head as he proceeded to chug what was left. Shortening your life for this thing, Kakuzu? Haiden's eyes narrowed on his partner, a look of amusement on his face. Didn't think you'd ever be willing to risk your life like that. I am an immortal being, as are you. What exactly does it mean to shorten my life? Kakuzu said with a laugh. With his mask pulled down, Haiden and Suyen were able to see the large, malicious grin on his lips. The former Takigekyo shinobi could feel the massive amount of chakra that was rushing through his body. This is only a tool to assist in our goal. By the end of this night, our leader will have access to the Kyubi and Nanabai Jinchuriki, and this blasted village will be burned to the ground. Within seconds, the door to the pavilion opened up. Kariudo Zeijai walked into the building, a frown on his face. His eyes focused on the empty bottle in Suyen's possession before they moved to Kakuzu. So, you did steal it? He sighed. Zeijai, I noticed that no other Takigakyo shinobi were alerted to our presence other than the guards that were stationed here already. You have my gratitude, Kakuzu said. Now, to finish off your debt, I need you to lead an attack on the village leader, Shibuki-sama. Zeijai mumbled the leader's name before he nodded his head solemnly. Understood. Suein, I want you to lead your army into the village and attack. Create as much havoc as you can, Kakuzu requested. No need to tell me twice, Suein exclaimed as he cracked his knuckles. And us? We going to just go and capture the Jinchuriki? Haiden asked. Of course. However, the malicious grin on Kakuzu's face widened. If we find any Takigakyo shinobi along the way, I would be very pleased to end their lives as painfully as possible. Hell yeah! Haiden exclaimed. That's my language right there. You may be a heathen, Kakuzu, but Jashin-sama is looking down on you with respect right now. Kakuzu ignored his partner's words as he started to walk out of the pavilion. His eyes focused on the roots of the tree and looked up, seeing its base. He shook his head, chuckling to himself. Funny! This has always been one of my goals for the past 50 or so years, but I had put the thought behind me. I never normally indulge in these wants, but I see no harm in doing it this time. He mumbled to himself, his eyes steeling as he tightened his hands into fists. The chakra from the hero's water was channeling throughout his body. It felt to Kakuzu almost as if it was begging to get released. Tonight, I finally indulge. Tonight, I get my revenge on the village that threw me out. Tonight, Takigakyo burns to the ground entirely. Chapter 73, Invading the Impenetrable Village. Naruto yawned as he pulled himself away from Hinata and out of the bed. Bathroom. Hinata groaned as she turned in bed, feeling the lack of presence. Despite still being in a sleepy state of place, Naruto chuckled in amusement at his girlfriend. He proceeded to walk out of the room and down the corner to the bathroom. Upon leaving the bathroom 5 minutes later, he started to walk back towards the room, but he saw a light in the corner of his eye. Now more awake, he walked over towards the living room and noticed Fu awake, writing in a notebook. Almost immediately after he entered, Fu turned her attention towards him. A confused look developed on her face. What are you still up for? She asked. Bathroom. Naruto replied with a shrug. What are you still doing up? I'm working on a poem, Fu admitted. Sorta struggling to come up with anything good right now. You're writing a poem? Right now? The blonde asked. It's super late though. Yeah, well, I always have problems sleeping, she said with a sigh, putting her notebook down. I was always told that my insomnia was caused by Komiai, but I have my doubts. He is actually the one who seems to help me the most with falling asleep, staying awake with me until I actually do pass out. I see. Naruto frowned in response. It's good he can help you, but I'm sorry about that. Nah, don't be. It's not like I am tired or something during the day. I think my body is used to it. Then again, perhaps that's not normal. Maybe it's just some side effect of being a Jinchuriki, Fu said. Her eyebrow then rose slightly. Do you ever have trouble sleeping? Naruto rubbed the back of his head, thinking about his answer before speaking. I used to a bit, but it's gotten easier after a while, around the time I became a genin. Gotcha. Fu sighed. Well, it's no concern to me. Again, I function just fine as is. Fu. Naruto's frown deepened slightly. The sound of a loud explosion in the distance sounded through the area. Naruto's words died on his lips as both he and Fu quickly rushed out of her house and looked around. In the distance, they could see smoke coming from buildings in the center of Takigakyo. They could hear various sounds, weapons colliding with each other, and people shouting and screaming. What? Naruto mumbled in shock. Fu's eyes were wide in disbelief as she tried to process what was happening. What the hell was that? Enko, Hinata, and Shikamaru all joined Naruto and Fu outside her house. All three saw the smoke and could hear the sounds of battle in the distance. Everyone took everything in with wide eyes. Byakugan! Hinata activated her dojutsu and took in what was happening. Her eyes proceeded to widen further. Taki is under attack. That's unheard of. Fu mumbled to herself. Taki is impenetrable. No one has ever invaded the village before, not even during the Shinobi World Wars. Before anyone could say anything else, something started to rocket forward through the air, landing in the water around Fu's island. The shinobi quickly rushed over to the crashed object only to discover it was a body of a Takigakure shinobi. Blood was dripping from its mouth and from a large, open wound in his stomach. Fu felt a sense of nausea develop in her stomach. Her disbelief was turning to horror and disgust. She had never cared for any of the shinobi or civilians of the village, but she had never wished death on anyone. I guess either this is an internal attack, or this is history happening before our very eyes and Taki is getting invaded, Enko said, her eyes steeling themselves as she quickly turned back to Fu's house. Get ready. Get all equipment you need. We're going to get into some big fights, it seems. Everyone nodded their heads in agreement. They all rushed into Fu's house, getting dressed and grabbing all weapons that they would need. They then rushed back out of the house. We need a plan of action, Shikamura said. How do we dash? Another large explosion sounded out throughout the area. The 5 shinobi turned their heads toward the smoke. Fu's eyes widened as she realized where the smoke was coming from. That's Shibuki's place. Fu's eyes narrowed. He's being attacked. I need to check on him. Before anyone could say anything, Fu bolted off, heading towards the smoke. Fu! Naruto shouted her name, but his fellow Jinchuriki continued to rush forward, ignoring him. He shook his head. Damn it! Naruto, go after her, Enko ordered. This is not the time or place to be by yourself at all. Go! Naruto nodded his head in understanding before he rushed off, heading behind Fu towards Shibuki's mansion. Enko then turned her attention to Hinata and Shikamaru. By the same logic, we need to stick together. Let's go into the center of Taki and try and help. There's probably a lot of civilians in danger that are going to need some help. We need to help the Taki shinobi fend off whatever group is attacking. Both Shikamaru and Hinata nodded in agreement. With those words, the 3 rushed to the center of the village. Enko, Shikamaru, and Hinata rushed through Taki's streets. As they moved through the village, they saw more and more buildings with broken windows and damage. Some buildings were on fire. There were also various shuriken and kunai scattered on the ground, some of which colored in blood. As they moved towards the center of town, they saw various civilians running away towards the edge of the village, screaming and shouting. Some were being followed by Takigakure shinobi, who were making sure they were getting out safely. When they neared the center of the village, they caught sight of shinobi fighting. Various Taki shinobi were fighting other shinobi that were donning either the Takigakure forehead protector with a cross marked through it, or the Amigakure forehead protector. AIM? Shikamaru scowled. So AIM is working with Takigakure missing ninja to invade the village? Enko shook her head. I doubt that. AIM just got finished with a civil war, if I recall. I doubt they have the resources for an invasion. They're probably AIM missing ninja dash, and oh stop. The 3 Konoha shinobi turned their attention towards a civilian, an elderly man with blood dripping from a wound on his shoulder, who was edging away from a masked shinobi with an Amigakure forehead protector. The mysterious shinobi was holding a kunai and was gesturing to throw it at the man. Before he could throw the kunai, however, Hinata quickly reached for her bow and fired an arrow. The arrow shot the shinobi in his throat, piercing it completely and causing him to fall to the ground dead. The Konoha shinobi then rushed over to the man, whose face was starting to turn white. Are you okay, sir? Hinata questioned. I. The man was nearly close to tears. I was just about to go to sleep when I heard a loud explosion. I went outside and then that person tried to kill me. Try and stay calm. You're going to be safe now, sir. Shikamaru told him with a smile. We're going to keep you safe. The group immediately turned their attention as they saw more civilians running away from their homes, screaming. A frown developed on Enko's face as she quickly turned her attention to her 2 former students. Alright, new plan for now. Shikamaru, Hinata, I want you both to help get all civilians to safety. Take them to some type of safe place. She told them. I'm going to try and stay here and do something about any of the assailants I can find. Enko-sensei, we literally just talked about not separating and being by ourselves. Hinata informed her with a frown. Yeah, and I'm not going to fully be by myself, 'cause you all should be coming back here multiple times to rescue more civilians. Enko replied. Just get them out of here safely, that's the biggest priority right now. I got it. Shikamaru said with a nod of determination before turning his attention to the elderly man they had just saved. Like we said, we're getting you to safety. Thank you. he mumbled in response. Shikamaru quickly grabbed onto the man and rushed off, carrying him through the streets on his back. Hinata rushed over to two of the fleeing Takigakure civilians, a mother and her daughter, and followed behind. Anko remained behind. She stayed still, looking around the fire and damage around her as she assessed what to do first. Her eyes then widened as she felt a strong rush of killing intent aimed at her. She then jumped up in the air, avoiding 3 separate barrages of water bullets aimed for her. She effortlessly landed back on the ground as 3 separate aimed shinobi walked up towards her. Konoha shinobi, you'll regret getting involved in this. One of the shinobi, a man with a black mask over his mouth and messy brown hair, said with a laugh. You should have just left this village while you can. Now you're gonna die, along with the rest of this dumb as fuck village. And I should just accept the words of some no-name missing ninja? Anko said with an eye roll. Her grip on the Shibuki blast sword tightened. You're the one who is going to die. You're all going to die. No name? Who the fuck do you think you're talking to, bitch? The masked shinobi snarled. We're the elite, hand-chosen shinobi Tsuyan, the one who is going to destroy this village. Kirasame, calm yourself. One of the other shinobi, a muscular man with spiky gray hair. I recognize her. Don't underestimate this woman. Humph, whatever you say, Murasame. The shinobi grumbled under his breath. Tsuyan? Anko repeated the name in her head. She recognized it barely. She knew he was a missing ninja from Takigakure who left after being exposed as someone who wanted to take over the village. So he's leading this invasion? Makes sense. It fits with how this invasion is going. Her eyes then moved over to 3 aimed shinobi in front of her, and a smug grin developed on her face. His cronies, though, leave much to be desired. Just a little nudge and I can probably drive at least one of them over the edge. Tsuyan? Who the hell is that? Anko said with a snort. Sorry, I don't recognize shinobi names unless they're on the kill on sight section of the bingo book. Don't talk down to Tsuyan-sama like you're anything special. The 3rd aimed shinobi, a young woman with unkempt brown hair, retorted. His aim, what did I just tell Kirasame? Murasame hissed in response. This is Mitarashi Anko of the Blast Sword, the only non-Kiri shinobi to be admitted into the 7 swordsmen of Kirigakure. Damn right I am, Anko replied. She crouched slightly, preparing to charge. So with that in mind, get out of my way. Leave Taki behind and take your other filthy allies with you. And maybe a few of you will make it out of here alive. No can do. This mission is something Tsuyan-sama has been planning for years. We aren't going to give it up for anything. Murasame replied as he started making hand signs that Kirasame and his aim replicated. So be it. Anko proceeded to charge forward at the 3 shinobi, the blast sword starting to unravel. Then for the sake of the people of this village, die! Burk! Shibuki groaned in pain as he was knocked back through the walls of his mansion, landing firmly on the ground. The young Takigakure leader struggled to stand up. As he managed to pull himself up from the ground, his assailant jumped out of the newly formed hole in the mansion to face him. Shibuki grit his teeth as he locked eyes with Takigakure's Jonin commander. Seijai, why are you doing this? Shibuki questioned. You've been a loyal shinobi for longer than I've been alive. You love this village. Why are you doing this? Some things go deeper than love or loyalty, Shibuki-sama, Seijai responded solemnly, shaking his head. But I'll take my shame to the grave. Do your best to stop me. Shibuki shook his head before he extended both of his hands. Water-slicing blade. Immediately, a torrent of water developed in Shibuki's hands, changing into the shape of blade of water. As the blade finished forming, Seijai reached for the scythe attached to his back and gripped it tightly in his hands. He swung the scythe at the village leader, who blocked the blade with the sword in his left hand. He then swung at Seijai with the blade in his right hand, but the Jonin commander jumped back, avoiding the strike. He then charged forward again at Shibuki. Cyclone shot. Seijai leaped into the air, flying headfirst towards Shibuki. As he flew through the air, he began to spin his body and his scythe, creating a vortex around him that resembled a cyclone. Shibuki, unable to get away in time, brought his swords forward and blocked the attack, causing wind to blow all around his body after the impact. Despite the initial block, however, Seijai's body continued to spin, maintaining the cyclone. Shibuki bit his lips as he tried to maintain his stance and block the attack, but finally released his stance. Seijai proceeded to fly freely towards into Shibuki, causing him to get both knocked backwards and cut deeply on his stomach. As Shibuki was sent flying backwards into the forest around his mansion, Seijai continued in his spiraling cyclone. He angled himself upward until he was directly above Shibuki, who was trying to get up as quickly as he could. Upon getting directly above him, Seijai dropped the cyclone, repositioned his sides so that it faced downward, and proceeded to descend. Net-shaped prison. Before he finished his descent and sliced through Shibuki, a series of thick, green streams of chakra resembling spider webs appeared. The webbing caught the scythe, preventing it from cutting through it. The web then started to turn upward as it began to form a net around his body. The Jonin commander cursed under his breath as he jumped upwards, pulling his scythe with him, and managed to move before he was surrounded by the webbing. He landed safely on the ground in time to look at the origin of the web. Fu. Shibuki, are you all right? She questioned with a frown. I'm fine. Shibuki replied, fully up again and able to move around. A small smile developed on his lips. I'm in your debt, Fu. Thank you. As Seijai assessed Fu's presence, he felt another presence arriving. Before anyone could say or do anything, Naruto appeared on the scene, standing by her side. You're the guy who led us into the village! Naruto shouted, recognizing him. His eyes narrowed in anger. What the hell are you doing? Why are you attacking your home village? I have no reason to say anything, Naruto-san. Seijai replied. Seijai. Fu shook her head. What kind of joke is this? You can't actually be doing this, can you? Was this invasion your idea? Does my answer really matter? He questioned. Yes, it does. Why are you turning against your own people? Fu hissed. Seijai said nothing. He gripped his scythe tighter in his hand, which caused both Naruto and Fu to tense up and prepare to fight. He's not going to elaborate more than that, Shibuki said with a sigh. Naruto-san, Fu, if you're here to help, please don't kill him. When this violence settles down, I need him interrogated. I need to understand what's going on and why he's doing this. Even if I lose, you'll not get what you want from me. Don't waste your time. Try and kill me or all three of you will die. Seijai replied as he clapped his hands together. Wind style, burning currents. A massive gust of wind rushed forward from Seijai's body towards Shibuki and the Jinchuriki. All three jumped out of the way, causing the wind to make contact with trees in the forest behind them. Upon coming into contact with the wind, the trees were cut in half and the limbs immediately caught on fire. The wind stayed in the area, causing the fire to grow. Fu jumped towards the Takigakure Jonin commander, tightening her fists. Blue-like chakra started to form around her fists before they hardened into cocoons. She attempted to punch at Seijai, who parried with the blade of his scythe. The collision caused both shinobi to get knocked back. Naruto jumped forward at the man, extending his hand outward. Immediately, a large ball of chakra developed in his right hand as he extended his hand outward. Odama Rasengan! Seijai jumped into the air, avoiding Naruto's attack, causing it to hit the ground and create a massive crater. The Takigakure Jonin commander proceeded to fall onto the ground directly behind Naruto's body, who quickly turned around in time to see Seijai attempting to cut into him with his scythe. Naruto quickly moved back once again before clapping his hands together, a motion that Seijai quickly mimicked. Wind style, great breakthrough! Both the Kyubi Jinchuriki and the Taki Jonin commander released massive gusts of wind from their mouths simultaneously. Both blasts collided with each other, causing hurricane-force winds to rush in all directions, blowing both Naruto and Seijai backwards. Both shinobi were sent flying backwards into trees, both wincing upon impact. As Seijai pulled himself away from the tree, he noticed green streams of chakra, shaped like a web, approaching him. He jumped just in time before the chakra webs reached the tree, forming a literal web against. Seijai, seriously, you are outnumbered. You could maybe take on one of us, but you can't handle both of us, Fu stated sharply as she jumped in front of the man. Naruto jumped right next to her side, illustrating her point. Seijai, please, Shibuki added, standing next to the two Jinchuriki. Surrender. I don't know what you are intending with this attack, but it will not stand. Surrender now or else you are going to die. I've been dead for a long time. It just finally caught up to me. Seijai replied, shaking his head. I can't speak of why and I won't. Kill me if you can. But that's assuming you all can. The red-haired Jonin proceeded to run through hand signs. I have a few aces up my sleeves. I'm not going down without a fight. Then die fighting. Fu shook her head as she closed her eyes. Immediately, red chakra began to surround her body, forming what resembled 5 wing-like tails on her body. I intend to. Seijai mentally noted with a sigh. Isn't this the Nanabai Jinchuriki's place? Where the fuck is she? Haiden questioned as he and Kakuzu finished exploring her home. Strange. I knew I sensed her chakra in this area when the invasion began. She seems to have moved. Kakuzu noted. Well, where'd she go? It's not like she's actually helping this shithole with the invasion, is she? Haiden nearly shouted. Or do you think she turned tail and ran like a bitch? 'Cause that's gonna make her real annoying to follow. Before Kakuzu could even answer his question, the 2 Akatsuki members sensed a rush of chakra nearby. They turned their heads towards Shibuki's mansion in the distance, which was on fire. You feel that rush of demonic chakra, Kakuzu? Haiden asked with a smirk. Jashin-sama has heard our confusion and pointed us in the right direction. Humph. More like our little bug got caught in a fight. Kakuzu noted. Let's go, Kakuzu. Prepare for a fight. Heh. I cannot wait to gut that bitch. Haiden's smirk widened as the 2 Akatsuki members rushed off from Fu's Island. Water style, water whip. Kirasame, his aim, and Murasame held out their hands as whips made from water formed. Enko charged forward at aim missing ninja, gripping the Shibuki blast sword tightly. She swung the blade at the 3 shinobi, but they managed to jump away in time. The sword made contact with the ground, creating a massive explosion that knocked up bricks from the road into the air. Both Kirasame and his aim jumped to the side of Enko and swung their whips at the Konoha Jonin. She jumped into the air, avoiding both attacks. Murasame then jumped in the air as well, directly above her, and swung his own whip. She proceeded to move her body, avoiding the whip, before quickly turning to face the man as she made hand signs. Fire style, Dragon Flame Jutsu! Enko breathed out a massive dragon of fire from her mouth directly at Murasame. The aim-missing ninja swung his water whip downward at the flame, putting it out instantly, and creating a massive amount of steam in the air. As Enko continued to fall to the ground, Kirasame and his aim tossed kunai at the woman. The knives stuck straight into Enko's head and her eyes opened wide, until her body began to fade, turning into a pile of mud. The real Enko appeared directly behind his aim and was about to cut into the woman with her blast sword, but was stopped as a water whip grabbed onto her right hand. She turned her head in time to see Murasame gripping onto it tightly. Quickly, restrain her! He shouted. Both his aim and Kirasame quickly jumped backwards, swinging their whips at Enko's body. Her left arm and her waist were completely constrained by the water whips. She struggled to pull herself away, but was unable to do so. Heh! Thought you were so much better than us, didn't you? His aim noted with a grin as she tightened her grip on her whip. Looks like you're the one that's going to end up dead here, Kirasame added. No, it's still you dumbass that are going to die. Enko hissed under her breath as she closed her eyes. Ninja art, flare aura! Visible chakra began to develop around Enko's body that resembled red flames. Within seconds, the chakra solidified into real flames. The flames came into contact with the water whips that were latched onto Enko, causing the water to evaporate, and freeing her in the process. Shit! Murasame shook his head as he started to jump backwards. Careful with her now! His aim followed her leader's suggestion, jumping away immediately. Enko charged forward towards Kirasame before he could get away, however, and was punched in the face by a fist covered in the fire. The man was knocked backwards in pain slightly, screaming as the fire had spread to his face. He was unable to focus on anything other than those flames, causing him not to notice Enko rush up to him and raise the Shibuki blast sword, the scroll starting to unravel. Exploding blade style, eruption! Enko struck downwards with her sword into Kirasame's body, cutting him lightly down his chest, causing him to scream even louder in pain. The exploding tags proceeded to stick directly onto his body, applied directly onto the newly formed cut, and started to light up. Enko jumped away in time just as the tags detonated, creating a massive explosion directly on the missing ninja's body. Kirasame's body was blasted in half, with both halves ablaze in flames as they flew the sky until they hit the ground. Kirasame! His aim nearly screamed before turning to face Enko. You fucking bitch! You guys can't call me for the bitch here when you all invaded Taki and were taking pleasure in killing the people here. Enko shot back as she raised her blast sword one more time, pointing it at his aim. If anything, take that as a warning. Leave now or I will fucking burn you to shreds. His aim shook her head, growling under her breath, before she charged forward at Anko, running through hand signs. You're going to die! Damn it, Hisame, what did I tell you? Murasame shouted at her. Water style, archerfish. Fire style, widespread ruin. A large jet of water materialized in front of Hisame's body and launched itself directly at Anko. Anko, in response, brought her hands together, causing the flames that were on Kirasame's remains to come rushing forward towards the water and collide with each other. The two jutsus kept colliding against each other, trying to overpour the other. Slowly, the water began to extinguish the fires and started to come across victorious. In response, Anko ran through another series of hand signs. Fire style, flame hurricane. Large flames from Anko's body separated from her flare aura and began to rotate rapidly in a spiral pattern, as if being moved by the wind. She then brought her hands together, causing the flames to rush forward in a massive orb towards the jutsu. Just as Hisame's water jet had overpowered Anko's initial attack, the new flame orb rushed forward, hitting the water. The two jutsu stalemated for a moment. The water, however, began to quickly evaporate as the giant fire orb began to overpower it. What? Hisame's eyes widened as she stared at the flames. That's impossible. How can one person's fire be so strong to completely overpower my attack? That's unheard. Her thought process died as Anko's fire orb completely overpowered her attack, dissipating all the water, and continued to fly forward towards his aim. The aim-missing ninja attempted to jump away, but as she started to move, the orb began to expand to its original form, a spiral of rotating flames, and quickly made contact with his aim, burning her skin immediately. H! She screamed loudly as she tried to move backwards. The winds of the fire, however, proved too strong, and the missing ninja was unable to jump away in time. The wind sucked her into the center of the flames, causing her to scream even louder as her body caught more and more on fire. Once she was at the center, the fire reshaped itself back into the orb, centralizing its flames in the center. Hisame tried to scream, but her voice was muffled within the flames. The fire of the jutsu continued to ravage her body until her screaming stopped and her body burned to ash. Idiot! Both of them were idiots. Murasame scowled, shaking his head. Underestimating arguably the best non-Uchiha fire user Konoha has ever produced. Bah! With the other two missing ninja dead, Anko quickly turned her head towards the third. Her eyebrow raised as she lifted the Shibuki blast sword up meaningfully towards the man. I'll give you the warning one last time. Leave. Or you'll end up like your compatriots, she stated sharply. Negative. I already have a contract with Suyen-sama. He'd kill me if I left now, Murasame stated, shaking his head. Besides, they're idiots, but you did kill my partners. I need to avenge them. Heh. Go ahead and try. Anko proceeded to tighten her grip on the blast sword as she charged forward at Murasame. The final aim-missing ninja brought his hands together, making a singular hand sign. Heart acceleration jutsu! The man's eyes shot open wide for a brief second before he brought his hands together. He then quickly clapped his hands together one more time before separating them. Water style, water whip! Immediately, two whips made of water formed in his air. The man proceeded to jump into the air in time to avoid Anko charging at him. He then swung his whips from above her body, causing her to dodge. She then brought her hands together as fire began to channel between her hands. Fire style, circles of inferno! Anko proceeded to form red and yellow fireballs in her hands that she proceeded to toss in Murasame's direction. The man, however, avoided the flames with ease, causing the fire to fall to the ground and create small patches of flames on the ground. Murasame quickly struck at Anko with his water whips, but she avoided both attacks. He then quickly opened his mouth, releasing a large blast of water from his mouth directly at the Konoha Jonin. She sidestepped just in time. He's moving very quick. He's either much stronger than his partners, or Anko's thoughts stopped as realization dawned on her, recalling Murasame's initial jutsu. I know that stupid heart jutsu trick you're doing. You think a temporary buff on your speed and ability to spam jutsu is going to help you? Anko taunted as she gripped onto Shibuki. You do know that has long-term problems for you if this fight lasts long? It'll help me now, yes. And unfortunately, you're the kind of person I need to kill fast, otherwise you'd overpower me eventually. Consider it a compliment. Murasame noted, gesturing backwards to swing his whips. I do. And don't worry, this will be quick. she stated sharply. I won't even let your jutsu's shortcomings be an issue. I'll kill you before that can even happen. H. A Takigakure civilian, a young man around 20 years old, screamed as an aim-missing ninja picked up, clutching a kunai in his hand. Why are you doing this? Why are you people invading our village? Your village spat out Soyen-sama and refused his skills as a leader. We are just following his will and getting rid of the disloyal village and the scum that live in it, the missing ninja said with a chuckle. Now, die. The young man closed his eyes, waiting for death to come for him. Roughly 10 seconds passed before he finally opened his eyes cautiously. He was immediately dropped to the ground and his eyes widened. The aim-missing ninja was completely paralyzed. He was unable to move his body and was stuck in the same position. The only thing different about him was that his shadow was extensively longer. Fire style, Shadow Ignite Jutsu! Fire spontaneously arose from the shadow, completely encasing the missing ninja inside. The man started to scream, but was unable to move away from the flames. He was rooted inside and could do nothing but yell as his body began to burn away. The civilian quickly turned around in time to see Hinata and Shikamaru. Shikamaru was locked in a position and a hand sign, keeping the fire alive that surrounded the missing ninja. He gestured to Hinata, who walked forward and grabbed the civilian's hand. Follow us. We'll get you to safety, she told him comfortingly. It'll be okay, okay? Just try and calm down. Thank you? Thank you? The Taki civilian nearly cried as Hinata grabbed onto him and started to hurry off. Once the flames subsided and the aim-missing ninja's body was reduced to ash, Shikamaru quickly turned around and followed. At the edge of Takigakure, in the middle of the lake, was another patch of dark blue water. Takigakure shinobi led civilians and wounded shinobi to the water and brought them under, entering a large cave. Many active shinobi were standing guard by the cave entrance, and inside the cave, keeping the civilians protected. Hinata and Shikamaru continued to rush back and forth from the civilian areas and the cave, escorting every civilian they could to safety. We're doing our part, guys. I hope everything's going alright for you all. Shikamaru mentally prayed. Wind style, Reaper's Cross! Seijai lunged forward at Naruto, Fu, and Shibuki, swinging his scythe downward in an arc pattern. The three shinobi jumped out of the way in time, which caused blades of wind to escape from the blade of Seijai's scythe, racing outwards towards them. Fu managed to fly up into the air to avoid the oncoming wind attacks, but both Naruto and Shibuki did not jump away in time. Naruto was knocked back slightly as cuts started to form in his arms, causing blood to leak. Shibuki, in contrast, was sent flying backwards into a nearby tree hard, coughing up blood as a cut went down his stomach. Time to say goodbye, Seijai shouted as he jumped forward directly in front of Naruto's body. Wind style, Caress of Death! Seijai quickly flipped his scythe, causing the non-bladed end to point towards Naruto's body, revealing a small hole. The small started to glow a white color. The Uzumaki's eyes widened as he jumped into the air, just in time to avoid a barrage of air-like bullets that rocketed from the scythe's end. The bullets continued to fly through the air towards trees in the background. The first few create clean, perfect holes that pierce the trees while the last set of wind bullets cause the trees to explode, scattering bark on the battlefield. What the hell? What kind of jutsu is that? Naruto questioned. Naruto, use my chakra for this guy. Whatever attack that was looked lethal, Kurama warned. The Uzumaki nodded his head in agreement as he started to channel the Kyuubi's chakra. Red chakra began to surround his body, creating 3 tails of chakra. He breathed in, taking in the chakra, as his appearance began to grow more feral. Both Naruto and Fu charged forward at Seijai. The man quickly jumped into the air, barely avoiding both of their punches. Fu then flew into the air, directly at him, attempting to punch him again. Seijai swung his scythe downward at her, parrying her fist with his blade. The force of the collision pushed him further into the air. He then quickly faced downward as his body began to spin. Cyclone shot! The Takigakure Jonin commander rushed downwards, his body and scythe spinning rapidly and forming a vortex around himself. His body rushed directly into Fu's, sending her flying straight into the ground. Seijai's cyclone continued to move forward into her body in the ground, causing cuts to appear on her skin and the ground around her to start getting torn apart. Gritting her teeth, Fu pushed back with all her might, flapping her wing-like tails forward. The movement forced Seijai backwards, disrupting his jutsu and sending him flying again. Now airborne, Zeijai quickly flipped his scythe backwards again and channeled his chakra through it. Shibuki quickly rushed over to Fu's side, running through hand signs. Water Wall Jutsu! Wind Style, Caress of Death! Shibuki quickly formed a large, durable wall of water between Zeijai and himself and Fu. Simultaneously, Zeijai released another barrage of air bullets from the end of his scythe. The bullets rushed towards at the wall and instantaneously pierced it, causing all of the water to pierce it. Shit! Shibuki cursed as he and Fu attempted to jump away. The two were unable to get away from all bullets fast enough. One bullet managed to hit Fu's left leg while one hit Shibuki's right shoulder. Both bullets completely pierced the skin, creating an open hole on both of them. Each shinobi screamed in pain. Zeijai proceeded to swing his scythe around, bringing the blade forward, as he started to rush downward in the air towards Shibuki's body. Adamant sealing chains! Before the Taki Jonin commander could make contact with the village leader, his body was caught by a series of chains that quickly surrounded his arms and legs. He turned his head and saw Naruto, holding onto him with chains that had appeared from his leg hand, gritting his teeth. Naruto then tugged on his left hand, causing Zeijai's body to start flying directly at him. With his right hand, he started to create another massive orb of chakra. The Taki Jonin commander immediately closed his eyes, channeling chakra into his mouth. Wind Style, Wind Release Stream! Odama Rasengan! Zeijai released a controlled stream of wind from his mouth directly in front of him, which came into contact with Naruto's large orb of chakra. The Rasengan absorbed the wind chakra, overpowering it, but decreasing it in size as Naruto connected it with the man's body. The Rasengan grinded into Zeijai's body, causing him to close his eyes from pain as a large scar began forming and growing larger on his body. The force of the jutsu continued to grow until it finally overpowered Naruto's chains, breaking them and sending Zeijai flying backwards. The man was knocked backwards into a nearby tree, crashing straight through it and hitting the one behind it before falling to the ground. Damn it, I need to get better with the chains. If I could have had him pinned in that for longer, that would have beaten him for sure. Then again, I suppose it's better this way. That would have killed him and Shibuki wouldn't be able to interrogate him. Naruto shook his head. Still, that was quick timing of him with that wind release stream, weakening my Rasengan. He might still be able to fight cause of that. As if on cue with his thoughts, Naruto watched the man pull himself up from the ground, breathing heavily as he began to walk forward. A frown developed on the blonde's lips. Well, I can see why they made him the Jonin commander for the village. Zeijai, you can't seriously be able to fight after that. Please! Surrender! Shibuki pleaded. He tried to walk forward, but in the process, moved his shoulder slightly and winced in pain. Please! Shibuki-sama. I can't! Zeijai spoke, grinding his teeth, from both pain and his own frustration. I have a debt I have to pay. Even if it costs me my morals. Even if it costs me my life. There's a debt I need to repay, no matter what. What debt? What could possibly justify this? Naruto wondered. I don't have much fight left. I gotta give it one more shot to finish this. Zeijai realized as he closed his eyes, channeling all of his chakra. One single jutsu. Many shadow snake hands. Anko extended her right hand at Murasame, summoning hundreds of snakes from the sleeve of her coat that rushed forward. The aim-missing ninja jumped away, avoiding the attack, but the snakes continued to change direction and rush towards him. 10 of the snakes proceeded to open their mouths before releasing fireballs from their mouth. Murasame proceeded to sidestep, avoiding the flames, before swinging his whips forward at the necks of the snakes. He lashed at them, swiping off their heads from their bodies in rapid succession. The Konoha Jonin rushed forward at Murasame, gripping Shibuki tightly as the sword's scroll began to unravel. As she approached him, he proceeded to bend downward, preparing to jump. Just as Anko reached him, Murasame finally jumped, making a singular hand sign on his way up. Water style, geyser shot! As Murasame jumped away in time, a large tower of water rocketed forward from the ground. Anko, anticipating the attack, attempted to jump away. The water, however, rushed forward faster than she could react. The Jonin was smacked hard by the force of the large geyser, which sent her flying into the air. Now directly above her, Murasame quickly lashed downward with his whips, striking at Anko's body and forcing backwards into the geyser. Upon making contact with the water, Murasame's whips started to glow white as electricity began to channel through the whips. The electricity traveled towards the geyser before the entire tower of water was covered in lightning, shocking Anko. The Konoha Jonin closed her eyes in pain, resisting the urge to scream. Instead, she quickly made a hand sign, causing the Shibuki Blast Sword scroll to unravel and form a circle around her. Explosive blade style, explosion barrier. Instantly, the scrolls detonated, creating an explosive ring around her. The force of the explosion pushed the water and its electricity away from her and evaporating it. A few seconds passed by before the explosion cleared and Anko stood plainly on the ground, breathing heavily. The fire from her flame aura was still completely surrounding her body. Murasame landed back on the ground, looking at the Jonin in amazement. That combo, with the added effects of my heart acceleration jutsu. I should have killed her. I have never seen that jutsu fail. Ugh! Anko hissed in pain as she shook her head. She took in a deep breath before she started to walk forward, gripping the blast sword. That was a pretty ruthless combo. Gotta admit that. I am amazed you're still fighting, Murasame admitted. A small chuckle escaped the man's lips as he shook his head. You are easily the strongest opponent I have faced. Win or lose, it is an honor to have battled you, Mitarashi Anko. Murasame proceeded to crouch downward, gripping his water whips tightly, about to charge at her. Anko stood still, watching him carefully, preparing for his next attack. Water gun jutsu! Both Anko and Murasame turned their heads at the sound of two objects racing through the air. Anko jumped away in time, avoiding a small droplet of water that continued to rush forward into a nearby house, causing it to collapse instantly. The second droplet of water rushed through the air towards Murasame. The aim-missing ninja stood still, seemingly unaware that the bullet was heading directly for him. Realization dawned on him, however, but it was too late. Just as he was starting to move away, the bullet connected with his neck, blowing right through it. Burk! Murasame gasped as blood started to pour out of the hole. He fell to his knees and began choking on blood as well. He started to look around him. SS Suyin. So that's how the technique worked. A new voice spoke. Anko turned her head to see Saiyan approaching the two. The man was staring intently at his right index finger, which appeared to be covered in water. You know, Murasame, that technique is supposedly a unique technique of the Hozuki clan. Allegedly their hydration Kekei Genkai was the only known way to create the appropriate, compressed liquid needed for the jutsu. However, I've always been interested in the jutsu after hearing stories of the Nidame Mizukage, and after drinking the hero's water, I wanted to see if it would be possible with the amount of chakra it gives. WHWHY-. Murasame attempted to speak to Suyin, but only choked up more blood. After a few seconds of trying, he finally fell flat on his chest, dead. What? Anko shook her head before turning to face Suyin with a scowl. He was your subordinate. Why did you kill him like that? I have been watching you fight those three for a while. It was disappointing watching you kill his aim and Kirasame so fast. Murasame, while faring better, was also a disappointment. But the more I watched, the more intrigued I got with you. Suyin noted with a grin. You'll be the perfect way to test out the extent of my new skills. I'll get to see how much energy it'll take me to kill you. Sick bastard. Anko growled as she gripped the Shibuki Blast Sword tightly. Don't act like you cared about Murasame's life. Suyin snorted. Didn't you spend the entire time taunting him? Didn't you plan on killing him just like his other partners? Yes, but I'm also not working with him. His goals were against mine. His goals were your goals. You had no reason to kill him other than sadism. The Konoha Jonin snarled as she got into position to strike. You're nothing but scum and I intend on drowning you in so much fire you'll welcome the flames of hell as an alternative. Your invasion dies with you. I've been planning this invasion for years now. It's already working. The Taki missing ninja laughed loudly as he held out his right hand. Immediately, a sword of water formed in his hand and he gripped it tightly. Taki dies tonight. All villagers here die tonight. And you die now. With nothing left to say, both shinobi jumped forward at each other. This ends now. This is over. Zeijai shouted as he flipped his scythe backwards again, pointing the hole at the end of it towards the sky. You three will never walk this earth again. The Takigakure Jonin commander proceeded to toss his scythe into the air and clapped his hands together, running through 5 hand signs. Welcome to the Hornet's Nest. Wind style, raining chakra cataclysm. The scythe proceeded to glow a light blue color before cracks began to form throughout it. Within seconds the scythe broke apart, releasing a large amount of chakra that merged together, forming a centralized large ball. "Shikamaru-kun, look!" Hinata gasped. Both Hinata and Shikamaru stood at the entrance to a cave in the corner of Takigakure, a cave that was being used as a shelter for Taki civilians and injured shinobi. The two were about to rush back into the village streets when they noticed a large orb of chakra in the sky. "That's..." Shikamaru frowned, looking over at Hinata. "Naruto is over there, isn't he?" I can see him there," Hinata said, frowning as well. "I can see both he and Fusan are using their Biju-S chakra too. And dash." The Hyuga stopped speaking for a second as she noticed two new, large chakra presences in that direction. Both presences were exponentially high and were rushing towards the battlefield. Her frown vanished and a determined look developed on her face. "Shikamaru-kun, they're going to need backup. I can see some more chakra sources going that way," Hinata stated. "Got it." Shikamaru nodded his head before quickly rushing over that way. The two Konoha Jonin rushed over, towards the giant orb of chakra in the sky. The two new chakra sources were at the edge of Hinata's vision, enough that she could make out their general appearances. She noticed the red clouds of the Akatsuki robes, which caused her eyes to harden. "Shikamaru-kun, it's Akatsuki," she noted. "Shit." The Nara shook his head, scowling. "We need to get there fast. Naruto-kun, Fusan, be ready for this." The Hyuga mentally prayed as her eyes narrowed further. "Akatsuki, prepare to die tonight." The two shinobi increased their pace as they moved faster towards the battlefield. "What is that?" Naruto questioned, his eyes narrowing on it. "Is that thing dash, Naruto, move!" Shibuki shouted. On cue with Shibuki's warning, small beams of chakra began to escape the large chakra orb in the sky, rocketing downwards towards the sky. Naruto, Fu, and Shibuki quickly jumped out of the way, avoiding the first blasts. The beams collided with the ground, creating more explosions, scattering dust. The scattered debris from the explosion caused Shibuki to lose his footing, forcing him to the ground. He winced in pain from the impact as he tried to pull himself off the ground. The hole in his shoulder, however, made it hard for him to stand up fully. More beams continued to rush from the orb, aiming for the three shinobi. Fu quickly shook her head as she rushed over to Shibuki's body, picking up the Takigakure village leader and jumping away in time before he got struck. Naruto continued to remain in the central battlefield, avoiding the beams of chakra. He then proceeded to rush forward Zeijai's body as he began to channel chakra in his right hand, creating another large orb of chakra of his own. "You think getting close to me is the right idea?" Zeijai asked as he made the tiger hand sign. Instantly, the beams from the chakra orb proceeded to concentrate on Naruto's position and rushed down all in unison. Just as Naruto was about to make contact with Zeijai, he was struck by one of the blasts, forcing him downward. The chakra beam was overwhelming. It pushed Naruto's body downward into the ground, completely destroying the ground underneath and shoving him down underground. It continued to shove him down more and more in the ground, ignoring all debris and rock in the way. The beam itself was made entirely of wind chakra that was cutting into his skin, creating multiple cuts all over his body. "Naruto, channel of my chakra! This jutsu could kill you!" Kurama shouted. "G got it." Naruto bit his lip as he channeled more and more chakra. 4 more tails of red chakra developed on Naruto's body, bringing his total to 7. His features became momentarily more feral before his body began to be surrounded by a dark red chakra that covered his entire body. A determined scowl developed on his lips as he tried his hardest to push back against the beam of chakra. "It's the first time in a while you've entered version 2 in a long time. Are you okay? Are you still in control, Naruto, or am I going to have to fight him?" the Kyuubi asked. "No, I'm in control still," Naruto thought back. He growled as he crossed his arms against his body. This gesture blocked the blast from the oncoming wind chakra, stopping Naruto from going deeper into the ground. He then bent his legs as he prepared to jump and began channeling chakra once again in his right hand. "I'm still in control, Kurama, and this guy won't last even a second against me like this." On the surface, Zeijai noticed that his chakra beams were no longer shoving Naruto further into the ground. He shook his head as he jumped backwards and made another hand sign. The giant orb of chakra proceeded to come down itself, racing forward towards the hole. As the giant chakra orb began to near the surface of the ground, dust started to pick up from its pressure and force. Before it made contact with the ground, however, Naruto jumped out from the ground, holding out his right hand. Another massive orb of chakra developed in his hand and collided with Seijai's attack. Udama Rasengan! The massive orbs collided with each other, creating a massive explosion. The shockwave of the attack knocked more nearby trees down, completely clearing out the area around the battle. The two orbs remained in stalemate as they tried to overpower each other. Naruto remained strong during the battle. The combined force of the two attacks was seemingly having no effect on him. He continued to shove his Rasengan forward, trying to overpower Seijai's jutsu. I can't believe this. Seijai's eyes widened as the force of the two jutsus knocked him back. This power. I knew a Jinchuriki would be strong, but this. After a few more seconds, Naruto finally shoved his Rasengan through Seijai's larger orb of chakra. The act caused the chakra to completely dissipate, turning into gusts of wind that scattered the area. Unbelievable. Seijai shook his head. A chill went down the Taki Jonin commander's spine as he felt a new presence. He turned his head in time to see Fu and Shibuki standing next to him. He had no time, nor ability, to react. He was exhausted, by physically and chakra-wise, and was unable to block Fu's fist. She punched him hard, downward, into the ground, knocking unconscious immediately upon impact. "Stay down!" she hissed. "Dirty traitor!" Naruto quickly rushed over to their side. His eyes wandered to the hole in Fu's leg to the one in Shibuki's shoulder. A frown developed on his lips. "Are you both okay?" "Yes. I'm sorry for getting in your way." Shibuki apologized. "I think skill-wise I am roughly a chunin at best. I was grossly overpowered and was just a hindrance to you both, especially you, Fu. Don't apologize. It's fine." Fu shook her head. She picked up Seijai's body and brought his chest up to her ear. A smirk developed on her lips. "Well, he's still alive. You'll be able to interrogate him when the shit show is over." "Thankfully. I'll need the answers." Shibuki sighed in relief. A smile developed on his lips. "I would be dead, if not for you two. Thank you both so much." "No need to thank us, Dash." Naruto began speaking before his eyes widened. "Kurama, what am I sensing approaching us?" "Another threat!" the Kyuubi replied with a growl. "Don't ease up yet. You're borrowing more of my powers, so you must have my ability to sense negative emotions. Company is approaching." "Naruto?" Shibuki tilted his head, his smile fading. "What's going on, Dash?" "Ah." Fu's eyes widened. Realization was dawning on her face as well. "This fight isn't over." Lightning style, false darkness. Naruto, Fu, and Shibuki quickly looked behind in time to see a massive spear of lightning rushing towards them. Naruto grabbed onto Shibuki and jumped away while Fu, still holding onto Seijai's unconscious body, flew away, all barely avoiding the attack in time. As the three resettled on the ground a few feet away, two new figures appeared in the now treeless battlefield. Naruto's eyes widened, recognizing both figures. "Akatsuki," he mumbled. "What?" Fu's eyes widened. "These guys are the ones you were telling us about." Shibuki's eyes widened as well, but his eyes focused on one particular person in the group. A cold spell rushed through his body as his breathing became harder. "Kakuzu," he mumbled. Kakuzu and Haiden both stood proudly in front of the two. Kakuzu had a large black masked figure standing to his side while Haiden was gripping his own scythe tightly in his hands. "Hope you all aren't doing fighting just yet." Haiden smirked. "We got to see the end of that shitshow you just had with the red-haired bastard and now we want in." Chapter 74, Akatsuki's Immortal Shinobi. "Hope you all aren't doing fighting just yet." Haiden smirked. "We got to see the end of that shitshow you just had with the red-haired bastard and now we want in. I recognize you both." Naruto noted as his eyes went to Haiden. "You're Haiden. I fought you in Nami no Kuni." His eyes then moved to Kakuzu. "And you're the guy who attacked Han and I back at Tenchi Bridge. I'm pleased you remember me. I have to say, I am impressed you managed to kill off Nasamurita all those years ago. You were a mere genin back then too, from what I recall." Kakuzu noted with a chuckle. "Of course, that blasted Kumo idiot was easily the weakest member Akatsuki has ever recruited. You'll find us much more interesting to fight." You are Kakuzu," Fu noted with a surprised look on her face. "You're the most famous missing ninja from Taki." Her eyes turned into a glare. "And you're a member of this Akatsuki group?" Are you the ones behind this invasion? No shit! Haydn spoke up with a laugh. You and Fox Bastard over there are coming with us while the rest of this village gets offered as a nice, beautiful sacrifice to Jashin-sama. The man then pointed his scythe directly at Shibuki. Starting with its bitch of a leader! Haydn proceeded to dash forward directly at Shibuki. The Taki leader froze for a moment before he braced himself, channeling chakra in his hand to form a water sword. Before the two collided, however, Fu jumped in between the two. Fu, don't let him hit you even once! You cannot let him get first blood on you! Naruto shouted. His jutsu requires for him to have your blood! Fu's eyes widened momentarily at the warning, but she nodded her head in understanding as she took in a deep breath. Wind style, great breakthrough! Fu released a massive gust of wind that went straight towards Haydn's body. Haydn initially was pushed backwards due to the wind, but quickly gained traction and pushed forward, despite the oncoming wind. Fu took the moment to grab Shibuki and fly away. Kakuzu shook his head, scowling as he made a hand sign. Another masked figure shot forward from underneath his cloak and turned to face Fu. Fire style, intelligent hard work! Immediately, the masked figure opened its mouth, releasing a large fireball that rushed through the sky towards Fu. The Nanabai Jinchuriki quickly flew down, avoiding the attack, but was met face to face with the other masked figure, which proceeded to open its mouth. Lightning style, false darkness! The masked figure proceeded to open its mouth as it released spears of lightning. Fu rushed away, barely avoiding the attack and narrowly getting away. Just let go of that bitch leader so we can fight properly! Haydn stated with a laugh as he charged forward. Fu! Let me go. I'm going to hold you guys back. Shibuki told her, frowning. I'll be fine. I'll contribute somehow. You could barely stand a moment ago because of your injuries. I'm going to get you out of here first. Fu retorted, frowning. Yeah, get Shibuki to safely. I'll hold them off till you can do that, Naruto stated as he jumped in between Fu and Haydn. His eyes narrowed on the immortal as he started to channel chakra into his hands. An adamantine steel chain proceeded to develop, which Naruto pulled out and grabbed tightly in his hands. Hey asshole, don't think your gimmick will work twice on me. Heh. Dismissing Jashin-sama's techniques as a gimmick. Haydn snorted as he proceeded to take the edge of his scythe and stab his left hand, causing blood to start dripping. Why don't I show you some more of his precious techniques that I taught myself? Naruto responded by swinging his adamantine chain forward at the immortal. A smirk developed on Haydn's face as he made a single hand sign with his bleeding hand. All hail Jashin-sama, blood transmutation! Before Naruto's chain could connect with Haydn's body, the immortal's body started to glow a dark red color before his body seemingly melted to the ground. What the dash Haydn's body melted into a pool of blood. Naruto's chain redirected itself to the pool, but seemingly stabbed nothing. The Jinchuriki could feel chain make contact with nothing but the ground. The pool then started to move forward, inching closer and closer to Naruto's body. The Uzumaki immediately jumped backwards to avoid the blood pool, but quickly turned around as he felt another presence, coming face to face with a new masked creature of Kakuzu's. Wind style, pressure damage! The masked figure released a large mass of concentrated chakra from its mouth directly towards Naruto. The Uzumaki was forced to jump to the side, away from the blast, which continued to go forward more until it one of the remaining trees in the battleground, completely tearing it apart with tornado-like winds. The pool of blood continued to move forward towards Naruto. As Naruto jumped away from Kakuzu's attack, his body briefly fluttered directly above the pool. Immediately, the blood rose up and took shape again, forming into the image of Haydn. The immortal was now positioned directly under Naruto and swung his scythe at him. Naruto quickly used his claws to parry the attack, but the force knocked him further up into the air. Kakuzu's mask then proceeded to fly into the air, forming a triangular pattern around Naruto's body. Each of them opened their masks, as they began to charge their own jutsus. Fire style, intelligent hard work. Wind style, pressure damage. Lightning style, false darkness. The three elemental masks released their elemental jutsus in unison, causing a large fireball, a mass of air, and a lightning spear to rush through the air towards Naruto's floating body. Before he could react, however, Fu flew right up to him and grabbed onto his shoulders. More of Komi-Ai's chakra started to leak out of her body, adding a sixth wing-like tail. The chakra began to surround the two of them, forming a large, green cocoon in the sky. The cocoon solidified before the jutsus could connect. The three elemental blasts struck the cocoon and created a massive vortex around it of fire, wind, and lightning, but the cocoon remained stable as the jutsus began to subside. Damn, these two have a lot synergy, Naruto hissed before turning to Fu and smiling. Thanks for the quick shelter, by the way. That could have really done some shit to me. Don't worry about it, Fu replied with a sigh. She looked as if she was about to continue speaking, but she was cut off at the sound of voices. Okay, I think Setsu gave us notes about that jutsu. It has a weak spot for a precise, blade-like strike at the right angle, Haiden noted, bringing his scythe up to chin, as if using it to think. A grin developed as he started studying the cocoon. Let me hack at this shit for a little while and I'll pop it open. Take your time. They'll come out eventually. While you do that, I'm going to hunt down that Takigakyo leader before that weakling gets too far, Kakuzu replied as he ran off. Fu's eyes widened at the statement. Naruto shook his head, cursing under his breath. How far away were you able to get Shibuki? He questioned. Not far at all. I didn't have much time. I saw that Kakuzu got you trapped in that elemental jutsu and I just dropped him off and told him to run, she replied, biting her lip. We have to stop him. Kakuzu will kill him. I know. Naruto grit his teeth as he started to lean downwards, preparing to run. Hold off Haiden for me for a moment. I can definitely get to Shibuki before it gets too late. Fu nodded her head in understanding. She proceeded to channel chakra into the cocoon. A small hole developed in the top. She then turned her head to Naruto, nodding her head. The Uzumaki proceeded to jump up through the cocoon, and then immediately ran off in the direction of Kakuzu. Hey! Where you going, Dash? Haiden shouted, about to give chase at Naruto, but was stopped as he noticed the cocoon collapse on itself. Fu proceeded to land peacefully on the ground, gripping her hands into fists. Haiden proceeded to turn his attention to her and grinned. Kakuzu can handle him. Hey bug bitch, you ready for some fun? I'm going to enjoy killing you. Fu gritted her teeth. Haiden rolled his eyes before swinging his scythe. I am blessed by Jashin-sama. There's not a chance you can kill me. I have to hurry out of here. I'm just a hindrance to Naruto and Fu in this fight, Shibuki thought to himself. The Takigakyo leader was rushing through the forest, trying to move as fast as he could away from the battleground. He stumbled every now and then from the pain related to his injuries from the fight with Seijai, but he was making progress. He was finally back into the trees and was finally starting to make progress. As he continued to move forward, he felt an oncoming chakra presence. He turned his head in time to see a fireball approaching him. His eyes widened as he jumped away just in time as the fireball made contact with the tree, causing it to catch on fire. His eyes then noticed Kakuzu approaching the area with one of his masked figures rushing forward and opening its mouth. Wind style, pressure damage! The masked figure released a mass of wind that rushed through the air towards the tree that had caught on fire. Shibuki quickly ducked his head, predicting the reaction. The wind made contact with the flames, causing the fire to spread and expand, creating a firestorm that caught onto nearly every tree in the surrounding area. Just as Shibuki lifted his head up, Kakuzu arrived at his position, directly in front of him. The Takigakyo leader's eyes narrowed as he channeled chakra into his hand, creating a sword of water. He attempted to swing his blade down at Kakuzu's chest, but the missing ninja caught the blade with his bare right hand. He squeezed tightly with it, causing the water to fall apart, and then punched forward with his left hand. Shibuki attempted to use his left hand to block the attack, but Kakuzu's punch was strong enough to bypass the guard. Shibuki was knocked over, falling to the ground. I can't believe it, Kakuzu noted with a chuckle. I knew that Takigakyo's leadership was chosen by birthright and not by skill, but I cannot believe that this policy managed to create such a weak leader. The Akatsuki member proceeded to walk forward toward Shibuki, who was trying to pull himself off the ground. He grabbed him by the neck, bringing him face to face. He tightened his grip on his neck, causing Shibuki to gasp for air and start choking. Another chuckle escaped from Kakuzu's lips. Takigakyo doesn't even deserve its status as a minor village. It has a single Jinchuriki, which we will take from it when this mission is over. It betrayed its only S-ranked missing ninja, and its leader is nothing more than a mere genin, potentially a chunin at best, he stated. How pathetic. WWE didn't betray you. Shibuki managed to stutter out. Despite the grip on his throat, the young leader managed to speak those words with a glare on his face. Why you be betrayed us? The chuckling stopped. Kakuzu began to scowl as he quickly let go Shibuki's neck. Before the Taki leader could react, the missing ninja proceeded to punch him downward, causing the boy to fall to the ground. Kakuzu then stepped on his back, digging his foot into his back. This village sent me on what was no more than a suicide mission. Fighting the Shodai Hokage, back in the era of his prime, are you fucking kidding me? And then imprison me when I failed that mission and returned with my life, something very few shinobi that have fought Senju Hashirama have been able to say, and you're saying that your village didn't betray me? Are you fucking kidding me? Kakuzu shouted, digging his foot further into the boy's back. Ah! Shibuki screamed, the sheer amount of pressure on him was becoming unbearable. You spoiled, pathetic, weak brat. You know nothing of your precious village's past. Fucking garbage. Kakuzu growled. Kids like you, who were born into power and wealth, have no appreciation for the true nature of this world. You were given a blessed hand in life, and it's about time that reality caught up to you. Die dash. Before Kakuzu could continue his assault on Shibuki, the ground directly behind him started to rupture. The Akatsuki member turned his head around in time to see Naruto jumping out of a hole, a large orb of chakra in his right hand. He then proceeded to extend it forward. Otama Rasengan. Kakuzu did not seem fazed. He made a single hand sign as Naruto's attack connected with his body. Earth style, iron skin. Just as the Rasengan connected, Kakuzu's skin darkened in color. The Rasengan was shoved onto his body and dust around them started to scatter as the jutsu's force wreaked havoc on the area. Despite the pressure, Kakuzu seemingly had no reaction whatsoever to the jutsu. This can't be happening. I have never seen someone take the Rasengan like that. How? Naruto questioned, his eyes widening. A second passed as Naruto's Rasengan. Kakuzu stood still, having taken no damage. A chuckle escaped his lips as he turned his attention away from Shibuki and focused on the Jinchuriki. I am probably as surprised as you are. My iron skin technique is quite the durable jutsu, but I at least expected to feel the force of that jutsu and have to resist. Kakuzu commented, smirking. The hero's water really did enhance my chakra and overall capabilities. Why you drank the hero's water? Shibuki spoke up, shivering slightly at the thought. Hero's what? Naruto repeated, water produced from the tree at the center of Takigakure with extraordinary powers, able to enhance the physical and chakra capabilities of anyone who drinks it. The cost comes out of a shortened lifespan, but that's no cost at all for an immortal such as myself. The Taki missing ninja noted. Naruto scowled in response. You're not immortal. You're going to die, just like Nasamurita did. If you think you can compare me to that idiot, then you are about to have a rude awakening, Uzumaki Naruto. Kakuzu replied as he started making hand signs. The grin returned to his face. I consider it a blessing that you survived that encounter all those years ago. You ended up making a name for yourself in the bingo books. After we have your biju stripped from you, I'll take your body to the black market and receive a nice paycheck. Water style, water armor. As Anko and Suyen rushed towards each other, water vapor in the air surrounded Suyen's body. The water solidified into a physical form and clung to his body, resembling armor. Anko proceeded to swing her Shibuki blast sword down at Suyen, who parried with his sword of water. Upon making contact, the blast sword scroll released another wave of explosive tags, creating a massive explosion. Anko jumped back, but Suyen made no attempt to jump away. The Konoha Jonin remained still for a moment as she watched the smoke. Within seconds, Suyen jumped out of the explosion, his armor still intact and having taken no damage. Is that the famed explosions of Mitarashi Anko of the blast sword? Suyen taunted, raising his water sword. You're gonna have to try harder than to kill me! The Takigakure missing ninja swung his blade at Anko, but the Konoha Jonin jumped backwards and took in a deep breath. Fire style, dragon flame jutsu! Anko breathed out a massive dragon of fire directly at Suyen's approaching body. Before making contact with him, Suyen raised his left hand. Water gun jutsu! Suyen released a droplet of water from his index finger that raced through the air and pierced the dragon. Upon making contact, the flames of the dragon dissipated, and the water bullet raced through the air. Anko jumped in the air, avoiding the attack just in time. The Konoha Jonin continued to move through the air until she was directly above Suyen's body. She then started to descend, preparing to swing her blade. The blast sword scroll expanded, covering the blade in explosive tags. Explosive blade style, eruption! Sueon looked upward just as Anko's blade made contact with his armor. The blade did not pierce his skin, but managed to cut into his armor, leaving explosive tags in the opening. A small smirk developed on his lips as he raised his gun at close point to Anko's body. Water gun jutsu! Anko began to jump away, in preparation for her own jutsu, but was unable to fully get away from Sueon's jutsu. The water droplet rushed from his index finger straight and made contact with her right shoulder, piercing it completely. Her eyes widened as they reached for the shoulder, blood starting to pour out of the wound. She hissed in pain. Before Sueon could attack again, the explosive tags on his armor detonated. The man growled in pain as the water armor on his body began to fall off, evaporating into the air. Some of his shirt was blown off as well, exposing his torso, which had now been burned. Bitch! He hissed as he shook his head. But I think your wound is more severe than mine. Like I give a shit. You're dying today! Anko shouted as she charged forward at him again. Secret ninjutsu, scaled sneak jutsu! Fu took in a deep breath before breathing out a fine, white powder out of her mouth. The powder moved through the air quickly, completely covering the battlefield and reflecting light throughout it. Haydn immediately closed his eyes, blinded. Ugh! How dare you! Only Jashin-sama has the right to blind my eyes! Haydn shouted. Despite having his eyes closed, he continued to charge forward at her. Fu flew into the air and landed directly behind him. She raised her fists, coating them in a fine, thread-like material that resembled cocoons, and attempted to punch Haydn, but the man quickly turned around in time and parried with his scythe. The scythe's blade was unable to pierce her skin, so he quickly swung again at another angle. Fu parried his blade with her other fist before jumping backwards. Haydn quickly charged again at her, causing her to fly up in the air. She proceeded to fly directly above him and began to rotate her body, flying downwards at a rapid pace. Takigakure Hurricane! Fus proceeded to fly straight into Haydn. The Akatsuki member could not react in time and was punched downward. Fu hit him with enough force that when his head hit the ground cracked, causing his head to become stuck. Bitch! He growled as he pulled his head out of the ground. The Nanabai Jinchuriki rushed over to him before he could fully recover and delivered another punch to his stomach. Haydn choked up blood in response. Fu then rushed to deliver another punch to his face, but the man responded by spitting out his own blood. Fu sidestepped away, but Haydn's blood still managed to make contact with her right arm as she was getting away. All hail Jashin-sama, holy blood! Immediately, Haydn's blood on Fu's arm started to glow a white color. Immediately, a burning sensation developed on Fu's arm. Her eyes widened as pain started to radiate on her arm and spread throughout her body. The pain was becoming overwhelming. The kunoichi fell to her knees from it. A twisted smirk developed on Haydn's face when he heard the thud and began to rush towards her. Fu, channel more of my chakra! Get rid of that! Komiai shouted internally. Fu began channeling more chakra, causing a seventh wing-like tail to develop. She took in a deep breath as she concentrated her chakra onto her arm. The blood on her arm started to evaporate. As it disappeared, the burning sensation started to fade. Fu quickly pulled herself off and jumped into the air again, avoiding another slash from Haydn's scythe. God damn, you're so jumpy! Can you stand still? Haydn hissed in response. And let you kill me? Hell no. Fu responded with a glare. What the hell was up with your blood? How did it do that? My blood is blessed by Jashin-sama. Those who come into contact with it that are not equally blessed will suffer the consequences of those damned, he replied. Haydn attempted to open his eyes, but closed them again due to the blinding white powder in the air. A smirk developed on his lips as he began running through hand signs. I know you think you're pretty clever, bug bitch. Think because you have some silver blinding shit in the air and that you can fly and jump away so easily that I'll never be able to touch you. I already proved you wrong with that, cause my other senses are good enough that I can still find you. But I also have another tool that can help me fight. Haydn noted with a grin as he bit into his thumb hard, coating his thumb entirely in blood. He then slammed his hand downward. All hail Jashin-sama, summoning jutsu! Smoke completely covered the area. The smoke quickly raced around the area, completely repelling all of the white powder in the area. Fu took a moment to gaze at the battlefield in front of her when the smoke cleared and her eyes widened in horror. Standing directly in front of Haydn were three creatures that Fu could only describe as abominations. They resembled humans, standing on 2 legs and having 2 arms, a body, and a head. These creatures had skin that looked as if it was in the process of being decomposed with various openings in their bodies. They had scattered fabrics of various colors on their bodies that resembled clothes to a degree. There was also dried up blood on their bodies. All 3 had what appeared to be yellow, lifeless eyes and were staring intently at Fu. A few minor differences could be seen on a few of the creatures. The first looked the most human, having no inhumane aspects other than its general decomposed body. The second, however, possessed large nails that almost resembled claws. It also possessed muscular legs and appeared as if it was ready to run. The third had some form of appendage on its back that was folded onto itself. "What are those?" Fu spoke aloud. "These here are sacrifices to Jashin-sama. These are the remains of corpses sacrificed to him. Their bodies were given to him and, as such, are now reanimated and able to fight for his causes." Haiden exclaimed with a loud, maniacal laugh. "Even in death, Jashin-sama has an army of worshippers, ready to fight for him. Revenants, he summoned revenants." "How?" Komiai spoke slowly in her head, almost sounding sick. "I heard that you humans created a jutsu that revived the dead, but this must be different. This isn't reviving a person. This is just an abomination against nature." Before Fu could even respond to Komiai's words, Haiden pointed his finger at her, which caused the revenants to crouch down, ready to run. "Let's see how long you're able to run away when it's 4 against 1, Haiden said with a grin. Immediately, the 3 revenants rushed forward at Fu. All 3 extended their hands outward, revealing appendages that resembled claws. The Nanabai Jinchuriki jumped into the air just as the first reached her. One of the revenants proceeded to jump into the air, aiming straight for her and extending its claws. Fu quickly punched down on it, causing the creature to hit the ground hard. It immediately pulled itself off the ground and pointed its claws into the sky directly at Fu's body. The claws on its hands detached and rocketed forward at her. Fu flew to her right, just avoiding the attack. She then noticed that the third revenant had started to crouch downward. As it crouched, appendages on its back started to extend, resembling what appeared to be wings. Her eyes widened. "What the fuck are these things?" she questioned aloud. "They're Jashin-sama's sacrifices. They are created and molded specifically for any purpose," Haiden replied with a grin. "Some are slow and defensive. Some super speedy. Some use sharp claws and weaponry to attack. Others can use the elemental jutsus. And others know how to fly." Upon finishing his sentence, the third revenant jumped into the air. Its wing-like appendages opened up and allowed it to fly into the sky. The creature proceeded to soar towards Fu, opening its mouth to reveal sharp teeth. The Jinchuriki bit her lip as she took in a deep breath. "Wind style, drilling air bullets." Fu released concentrated bullets of air from her mouth directly at the oncoming revenant. The action knocked it backwards, forcing the revenant to fall to the ground. Before Fu could get too comfortable, however, the second revenant jumped back into the air, jumping higher than her position in the sky, and tossed its claw-like appendages at her. The kunoichi was forced to fly downward, avoiding the attack. The first revenant opened its mouth, generating a bolt of electricity in it. Just as Fu focused intently on the revenant, preparing for its next attack, Haiden proceeded to jump directly behind her. She turned around just in time to see him swing at her with his scythe. She flew back slightly and avoided the brunt of his attack, but the edge of his blade managed to cut at her skin, causing her to bleed slightly. At that moment, the first revenant released the lightning bolt it was charging. The bolt rushed through the sky rapidly towards Fu. She flew away just in time, causing the bolt to hit the thing directly behind her, Haiden's body. The lightning struck the Akatsuki member directly in the chest, causing his eyes to widen as he started to cough up blood. Within a second, however, the lightning no longer seemed to be hurting him. A grin developed on his face as he landed back on the ground, electricity still seemingly racing through his body. "Oh, I need to be more careful. Forgot that when my revenants fight to kill, they fight without a care of what's around them. I'm in the crossfires too of that. Such amazingly lovely creatures Jashin-sama has working for him." He proceeded to laugh loudly. "What perfect followers! What utterly delicious pain! How are you just laughing at that? You just got attacked by your own summon? What could even possibly be funny?" Fu demanded. "You really don't understand Jashinism and what it means to be a follower. So there's no point, you could never understand," the Akatsuki member said with a scowl. That scowl faded as quickly as it came, turning into his trademark grin once again. However, now that I have drawn first blood on you, I can help you understand maybe. Electricity still coursing through his body, Haydn proceeded to cough up more and more blood, coating the ground underneath him. Using his foot, Haydn quickly started to make a pattern on the ground with his foot. Within seconds, he managed to form a large circle around his body with a triangle directly in the center. I won't kill you. I'm not allowed to kill you, Haydn said as he brought the edge of his scythe to his mouth, taking a lick of the blood on it. Immediately, his skin tone turned black with white bone-like markings developing on his skin. However, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt you so good you'll be wishing for death. Water style, super exploding water shockwave. Kakuzu generated a fourth masked figure from his back. Both the masked figure and Kakuzu proceeded to take in a deep breath before both gushed out a massive amount of water from their mouths. The water amassed quickly, completely covering the area entirely. Naruto and Shibuki both quickly jumped onto the water, making sure to stand above water. The water continued to rise, however, as waves began to form and crash into the two. Both Naruto and Shibuki struggled as they pulled themselves to the top of the battlefield. Within seconds, the entire forest around them was covered in water. Naruto looked around, noticing that the water had risen the battlefield even above the trees. A frown developed on his lips as his head quickly turned to Kakuzu. How much chakra does this guy have to create this much water? He wondered. I suppose this is because of that hero's water that Shibuki mentioned. Remember, this man right now has an enhanced chakra network. This guy was an S-rank shinobi, right? I'd assume he probably has a chakra amount that rivals yours, if this water really is that useful. Kurama warned. I know. I need to get Shibuki out of here though. Naruto noted as he made a hand sign. Multi-shadow clone jutsu! Hundreds of Naruto clones began to form around the area. All the Naruto clones were covered in the same dark red chakra cloak and all looked ready to charge. Within a few seconds, one of the clones rushed over to Shibuki and picked up the village leader. It then started to run while the others charged forward at Kakuzu. The Akatsuki member let out a small chuckle as he made a single, snake hand sign. Water style, tormenting ocean. The newly formed water background started to become restless. Waves began form rapidly and reached new heights. As the first set Naruto clones approached Kakuzu's body, one wave formed directly in front of them, knocking a few over. The wave then crashed downward, slamming into them and completely crushing the clones. The remaining Naruto clones started to jump back, trying to avoid being crushed. The clone that had grabbed Shibuki continued to run away, but the water on the battlefield quickly formed a wave under its feet, tripping it. The clone dropped Shibuki, who did his best to stand up. Another large formed, directly underneath the clone's feet once again. The amount of force it applied upward on the clone was enough to dissipate it. Shibuki proceeded to jump away just in time to avoid the crashing wave. Kakuzu quickly rushed towards Shibuki. One of his masked figures approached the Takigakure leader, opening its mouth and charging up a fireball in its mouth. Just as it released a large fireball from its mouth, one of Naruto's clones jumped in between, generating a massive Rasengan in its hands. The Rasengan collided with the fireball, causing both jutsu to become nullified. The original Naruto quickly rushed over to Shibuki's side as his clones rushed over at Kakuzu. The Akatsuki member tried to rush over to Naruto and Shibuki, but the clones interfered, trying to attack, forcing him to focus on them. Naruto proceeded to run through a series of hand signs before biting his thumb and slamming it on the ground. Summoning jutsu! In a poof of smoke, Gamakichi appeared on the battlefield. The orange toad turned to face Naruto with a concerned look on his face. You're using the Kyuubi's power this much, Naruto? Is this a serious fight? Gamakichi asked. It is, but the most important thing I need done right now is with Shibuki, Naruto stated, pointing towards the Takigakure leader. Please, take him back to Mount Myaboku for now, so he's away from this. Naruto. Shibuki frowned in response, but did not say anything else. The village leader knew he was useless in this fight and was only slowing down Naruto. Got it, boss! Gamakichi replied quickly as the toad quickly grabbed Shibuki's body. Within seconds, the toad disappeared in a poof of smoke, taking Shibuki with him. Kakuzu delivered a final punch to the last clone around him, dissipating them all. He turned his attention to Naruto and scowled in response. Depriving me a kill on that useless, cowardly leader. You Konoha shinobi are so self-righteous. It's sickening. Kakuzu snarled. What's wrong with protecting someone? Naruto replied, rolling his eyes. I have been waiting years for that kill, to destroy Takigakure and its future. The Akatsuki member growled. Well, you missed your shot. Too bad. A smirk developed on the Uzumaki's lips as he cracked his knuckles. Anyway, with Shibuki gone, I can get back to focusing on what's important here. I can focus on just killing you. Good luck trying that, brat. Regardless of the Kyuubi's assistance, your years of experience outmatched. Kakuzu snarled as he quickly ran through multiple hand signs. Ninja Art, Elemental Delta Strike. The four masks quickly rushed around Naruto's body, forming a square-like pattern around him. Each of the masks opened their mouths, releasing a lightning bolt, a massive fireball, a deluge of water, and a compressed air bullet from each respective mouths. Naruto jumped in the air, avoiding the four elemental attacks. The jutsu, however, collided with each other, forming a massive vortex of fire, water, wind, and lightning that rushed upwards into the air. Naruto, unable to move out of the way in time, was sucked into the vortex. The Jinchuriki closed his eyes in pain as he felt his body getting cut by the winds, burned by flames, struck by the lightning, and felt the pounding of the water simultaneously. Resisting the pain, he brought his hand to his pocket and pulled out a seal paper and made a hand sign. Fuinjutsu, Protective Winds! After glowing a light blue color, the seal produced wind of its own that surrounded Naruto's body. The protective winds pushed back on the massive elemental vortex, forcing it off and away, causing the jutsu to dissipate. Kakuzu changed hand signs, causing the four elemental masks to fly upwards into the sky, forming another square pattern around the Jinchuriki. They opened their mouths to release their elemental jutsus once again, but Naruto pointed his left hand downward. Adamantine sealing chains! An adamantine steel chain rushed out from Naruto's palm directly towards Kakuzu. The Akatsuki member jumped back, avoiding the chain and causing it to hit the ground. Naruto, using his other hand, grabbed onto the chain and pulled himself towards the ground just in time as the masks released their elemental jutsus, avoiding another elemental vortex. Following his chain, Naruto zoomed towards the ground and landed directly in front of Kakuzu and swung his claws at the man. Kakuzu blocked the attack with his arm and then punched forward at Naruto, his fist turning darker in color. The Uzumaki sidestepped, avoiding the attack, and swiped forward with his claws again. His strike connected with Kakuzu's face, but the man's skin darkened in time before the attack hit. Not even a scratch mark was visible on his face. My iron skin, after being enhanced by the hero's water, is near invulnerable, Kakuzu said with a smirk as he punched forward. Try harder! The Uzumaki was punched directly in the face, knocking him back slightly and causing him to cough up blood. Kakuzu then charged forward, ready to punch him again, but he was stopped as Naruto managed to catch his fist with his right hand. You may be able to take a hit, but so can I. I got both the Uzumaki's standard endurance and the Kyuubi's healing prowess going for me, Naruto said with a smirk as he held out his left hand. A large Rasengan began to develop in his palm. Within seconds the Rasengan doubled, growing even larger than Naruto had ever used. I can take all that you throw at me. You heal, yes, but you don't endure like I do. We'll see if you can catch up to me, Kakuzu replied with a snarl, making a hand sign with his left hand as well. His masked figures started to rush over towards him. Two of his masked figures rushed over to the ground and opened their mouths in unison. Kurama Rasengan. Weird mask blast flames. Naruto shoved the massive Rasengan into Kakuzu's body just as the two masked figures realized a combined attack of wind and fire, creating a massive storm of fire. Naruto's Rasengan sent Kakuzu rocketing backwards while Naruto was unable to move away in time, getting hit head-on by the flames. Kakuzu bit his lip as he tried to resist the force of the Rasengan. He could feel this newer, larger variant was tearing into his iron skin the more it pushed him back. Within seconds the man's iron skin faded away, turning back to its lighter coloration. The Rasengan continued to pound into his body, causing him to choke up blood. With as much force as he could muster, Kakuzu waved his arms, dissipating the Rasengan finally. The man started to breathe heavily. Naruto, while hissing in pain, pulled out another sealing paper and activated his previous Fuinjutsu, creating protective winds around him that blew away the flames, causing them to dissipate. The Uzumaki took a step forward towards Kakuzu, which prompted one of the masks to fly above his head. It opened its mouth, releasing a massive fireball at Naruto. Water style, never-ending arrow downpour. Arrows made of water moisture began to rain down from the sky. The first arrow ran completely through the masked figure, straight through its mask. It pierced it and connected with a heart inside of the mask, causing the masked creature to fall apart. Kakuzu's eyes widened as he proceeded to cough up more blood. "Damn it, my fire mask, my first heart," he internally growled. More arrows continued to rain down into the large fireball, extinguishing the flames. The remaining arrows aimed for the other 3 masked figures, but the remaining masks were able to dodge the assault and maneuvered their way back to Kakuzu's side. "Are you all right, Naruto-kun?" Naruto turned his head around to see the origin of the arrows. Hinata jumped to his side, holding her bow in hand and her Byakugan activated. He smiled at her, nodding his head. "Shibuki is safe. We just have this asshole to deal with," Naruto told her. "Where's Shikamaru?" "We saw you and Fusan were fighting separately, so he went to go help her," Hinata answered. Her eyes then focused on Kakuzu, a frown developing on her lips. "That man. He's Akatsuki. He's the same guy from the Tenchi Bridge mission." "Yup. He's the asshole that attacked Han and I with Nasamurita back then," the Uzumaki said with a scowl. "And now he and his new partner are trying to do that with Fu and myself. And trying to destroy this village. I've lost my fire mask. I have lightning, wind, and water left. And my own heart." Kakuzu took in a deep breath as he steeled his eyes. "I have plenty more than I need. I'll pick up a fire heart after this mission. I'll kill her, then knock him unconscious, then destroy this wretched village. Now, for the first strike." Haydn spoke to himself coyly as he pulled out a retractable spear from his cloak. "I'll start, here." Haydn took the blade of his spear and stabbed himself in the right shoulder. Fu's eyes immediately widened as a stabbing sensation entered her right shoulder. Her hands went to it, expecting to feel a wound. "Feel good, huh?" Haydn taunted as he pulled out his spear from his shoulder. "How does it feel now?" The Akatsuki member shoved the spear back into his newly formed shoulder wound. Fu's eyes shut as the pain began to magnify. The pain began spreading across her body and was nearly overwhelming to her. I get it. I'm not hurt, physically, but right now, any injury he takes, I receive as well." Fu realized. She forced her eyes back open, despite the pain, and focused on the seal. "My blood, and that seal, that's what's causing this. Force him out of it. Charge at him," Komiai suggested. Fu nodded as she started to run towards Haydn. Immediately, the revenants began to run at Fu, getting in between her and Haydn. "You think you're the first person who's ever thought to try and attack me and drag me out of my seal? That Kyubi bastard was the first one to actually pull that off on me years ago," Haydn declared with a laugh. "Well, I'm not the ignorant believer I once was. I am an enlightened disciple who won't let such blasphemy work twice on me. Try and push your way towards me through my summons." Fu ignored his rambling and continued to charge forward. The revenant with the large claws rushed forward at her, swinging them at her. Fu proceeded to jump into the air, avoiding its attack. Just as she was about to fly over the rest of the revenants, however, Haydn stabbed himself in the back. A sharp sensation entered her body, causing her to instead land on the ground again. Another revenant rushed over towards her. It put its hands on the ground before pulling out a large boulder from the soil. It grabbed the boulder and attempted to slam it on Fu's head, but the Jinchuriki managed to sidestep, avoiding the attack. The revenant with the large claws attempted to slice at Fu once more, but she sidestepped away again. She proceeded to spin her body around in a circle as she ran directly towards Haydn's body. Chakra strings began to completely surround her body as she jumped forward at him. The string then formed what resembled a cocoon. "Horned beetle hurricane!" The winged revenant jumped in the way and attempted to hold off Fu from reaching Haydn, but Fu's jutsu overpowered it instantly, knocking the creature to the ground as the Jinchuriki continued to barrel towards Haydn. The Akatsuki member smirked as he took his spear and stabbed himself, once again, in the back. Fu felt a sharp pain rocket through her body once again, but she maintained her formation and continued to rush forward at the man. Haydn's eyes widened, seemingly expecting her to break formation again, and he was hit head-on by the jutsu. He coughed up blood as the impact forced him backwards, out of the spot. He continued to roll onto the ground before his body stopped after colliding with a collapsed tree trunk. Fu broke her jutsu after knocking Haydn out of his circle. She immediately choked out blood, feeling the pain she had just forced onto him, but she still continued to charge forward. Channeling her chakra strings into her hands to form cocoons around her fists, she charged forward at Haiden's body and attempted to punch him while he was down. All hail Jashin-sama, blood transmutation! Just as her fist was about to collide with Haiden's face, the Akatsuki member's body melted into a pool of blood once again. Her fist collided with the pool, but seemingly had no effect on him. The pool of blood began to race on the battlefield towards the circle. Fu's eyes widened in horror. He can just keep doing that. Every time I get him out of the circle, he can just melt his body like that, and I won't be able to do a damn thing to him, she realized. A scowl developed on her face as she quickly flew into the sky. She then flew directly above the ritual circle just as Haiden was about to reach it once more. There has to be some way I can prevent that. Maybe. Wind style, beetle wing gale! Fu began to flap her tail like wings in a rapid formation while she breathed out a concentrated stream of wind. The wind made contact with the ground directly in front of the ritual circle. Haiden's pool of blood was about to remake contact with the circle, but the wind stopped it in its tracks. Soon, the pool of blood was actually getting forced backwards. So there's how. Blood is still just a liquid. The wind can control its movement if it's strong enough. I can keep him at bay when he's in that form, Fu noted. He'll have to break out of that pool soon enough as a result. This will dash. Fu's train of thought was stopped as she felt a presence. The winged revenant had flown into the air and was trying to bite her. The Jinchuriki quickly turned around to try and blow the revenant away, but she was too late, and the creature managed to bite her right arm before getting blown back into the ground. Fu hissed in pain as she reached for her arm. After recovering, she turned her attention back to the pool of blood, but it was too late. Haiden had managed to return to the ritual circle. He then quickly returned to his normal form, giving the Jinchuriki a pissed-off look in the process. Fucking bitch! Thought you could blow me away, huh? That's interesting. I'll remember that for next time, Haiden commented with a grin as he pulled out his spear once again. Now, where was I? Oh yeah! I was going to dash Shadow Possession Jutsu. Just as Haiden was about to stab himself once again, his body completely froze up. He tried to put pressure on his arm to finish his attack, but he was unable to. He lost complete control of his body. What the fuck? Fu's eyes widened as she noticed Shikamaru arrive on the battlefield, his shadow connected to Haiden's. Shikamaru-san, what are you doing here? She questioned. Hinata's helping out Naruto. Meanwhile, I got your back, Shikamaru replied as his eyes narrowed in on Haiden. He quickly ran backwards, causing Haiden to run off his ritual circle. Naruto already informed me about this guy a long time. I remember him and his general gimmick. I'll help you keep him off that circle. I really appreciate that. A small smile developed on Fu's face. Stop calling Jashin-sama's sacred techniques a gimmick. How fucking dare you people? Haiden snarled as he started to try put more force on pulling himself out Shikamaru's control. As Anko charged forward at Suien, the Takigakure missing ninja ran through hand signs before bringing his hands to his mouth, forming a circle around his lips. Ninja art, sound amplification jutsu. The man took in a deep breath before he started to scream. Ah! Sound waves raced forward from Suyen's mouth that traveled around his body completely. The sound waves managed to make contact with nearby buildings in the area, causing them to collapse instantly on themselves. The sound waves made contact with Anko as she charged. Her eyes widened and she resisted the urge to scream herself as her ears started to bleed. Despite the pain, she continued to run forward, gripping Shibuki tightly. She quickly rushed over to the missing ninja and swung the blast sword. Suyen, realizing that she was unfazed by his technique, stopped his attack and jumped back, causing her sword to make contact with the ground again and create another explosion. I'm surprised you could still keep charging at me like that. My sound waves should have ruptured your eardrums, damn it! Suyen growled as he continued to jump back. It didn't. Konoha has a shinobi who fights with primarily sound-related ninjutsu. I've sparred with him multiple times and I can say that you are not even half the shinobi he is. Anko spat out as she ran through hand signs. Fire style, widespread ruin. Fires from the explosions around the area rushed forward at Suyen's body, trying to smother him in flames. The Takigakure missing ninja proceeded to sidestep the flames easily until they formed a large circle around his position. He made a series of hand signs before clapping his hands together. Water style, water wall. A wall of water formed directly around Suyen's body, rising up just as the flames encroached on him. The flames were immediately extinguished as the water continued to rise up. That sound technique was only one in my arsenal of overall jutsu. I'm sure I'm more than double when compared to any shinobi you've ever heard of. Suyen growled as he clapped his hands together. Immediately, the water wall started to descend, forming massive tidal waves that struck the ground hard. Enko tried to jump away, but one of the waves managed to make contact with her, slamming hard into her and causing her to hit the ground hard. The water continued to fall onto the ground, flooding the battlefield. As Enko tried to pull herself up off the ground, Suyen rushed to her position and made a series of hand signs. Water style, transform at will. The water around Enko's body began to change shape, turning into a more turquoise-like color that oozed like jelly. The water quickly formed a bubble around Enko's body. As soon as it covered her body, Enko stopped breathing. The bubble blocked off all oxygen. The Konoha Jonin attempted to swing her blast sword at the edge of the bubble, but the resulting explosion did nothing to break it. Your flames are getting smothered now, you know? No oxygen. Your jutsu is going to be useless. Suyen taunted as he quickly placed his hand on the bubble, looking tauntingly as he watched Enko try to break the bubble. Now, suffocate! Enko ignored the man's taunting as she continued to try and break the jutsu. She attempted to use the blade of her sword to cut the bubble, but she was unable to. The jelly-like surface was durable and seemed to take no damages. After continuously trying, her eyes started to twitch. She could feel a pain in her lungs. She needed to breathe. Think rationally, Enko. There's a way out of here. There has to be a way. She told herself. Fire isn't going to cut it. This need also is durable. It needs a large force to rupture it. Maybe that's it. Enko's eyes lit up in realization as her hand went to her ear, coating her thumb in the blood. She ran through a series of hand signs. Summoning jutsu! A poof of smoke filled the bubble completely before it popped instantly. Suyen was sent flying backwards as smoke started to fade, revealing the elder snake Mamushi. Enko was on top of the snake's head, breathing very heavily. Thanks for the help. Enko managed to speak. Think nothing of it, Enko-chan. Mamushi replied, as she stretched her coils. I see you summoned me for battle. It's been a long time since someone requested this old snake to fight, but I am more than willing. Any help in general is appreciated. The Konoha Jonin noted, smiling, as her eyes then narrowed in on Suyen. This man here is leading an invasion against Takigakure. We need him dead before he can do any more damage. Understood. Mamushi replied as she started to slither closer to the man. Bah. Suyen rolled his eyes. Think cause you got some summon helping you that you beat me? You're still dying. Chapter 75, Kakuzu's Last Stand. Kakuzu charged forward at Naruto and Hinata. The Hyuga lifted her bow and fired an arrow at him, which as it flew through the air, multiple water arrows developed from the water moisture and flew through the air. Kakuzu did not falter at the oncoming arrows, however, and proceeded to sidestep all of them as he continued to rush through. Within seconds, he effortlessly avoided all the arrows and continued to move forward. As he reached Naruto and Hinata, the Hyuga quickly tied the bow around her back and began to channel chakra into her arms. Gentle step twin lion fists! A visible, blue chakra shroud surrounded Hinata's arms, taking the shape of lion heads. She took a step back as Kakuzu attempted to punch her, his fists darkening in color. She then retaliated by swinging her left fist at his face, but Kakuzu jumped backwards, avoiding the attack. He then held out his left hand as his arms started to open up, revealing the gray tendrils that held his body together. His hand raced forward towards Hinata, grabbing her by the neck. She was lifted into the air as his hand gripped on her neck tightly. Her eyes closed in pain. Hinata-chan! Naruto jumped forward at Kakuzu. Turning his head to face Naruto, who was charging forward at him, the Akatsuki member raised his right hand upward, channeling chakra into his palm. Water style, water wall! A tower of water rushed from the ground underneath Naruto, knocking the Jinchuriki upwards. The water then rushed forward, pushing Naruto backwards away from Kakuzu and remained stationary, forming a wall between him and the Akatsuki member. Damn it! Naruto cursed as he started to make hand signs. His body then slowly submerged into the ground. Hinata started to choke as Kakuzu applied more force on her neck. She overpowered the pain and was able to turn her attention towards Kakuzu and his grip on her throat. The Hyuga lifted her right arm, still encased in blue chakra, and chopped forward onto the very edge of his hand. Her attack connected and went straight through the tendrils, chopping off Kakuzu's hand. Ack! Kakuzu hissed, more in annoyance than pain, as the remaining tendrils on his body changed direction, grabbing onto his hand and pulling it back to him. As the Akatsuki member reattached his hand to his arm, the ground underneath his feet opened up. Naruto jumped upwards, a Rasengan in his open palm. He attempted to slam it into Kakuzu's face, but the Akatsuki member moved away in time. He then reached forward with his left hand, grabbing onto Naruto's neck. Close, but a rather childish attempt to catch me by surprise, Kakuzu noted. Kakuzu tightened his grip on his neck, causing Naruto to choke. Despite the action, a smirk developed on his lips as he made a singular hand sign. Uzumaki Fuinjutsu, Hurricane Manifestation! The ground underneath the two opened once more. A large, tornado-like wind appeared from underground, surrounding the two. The winds cut into Kakuzu's body, forcing him to let go of Naruto's neck. The Jinchuriki jumped back out of the wind as Hinata joined his side. He won't be in that tornado for long. Prepare for him to strike again, Naruto noted. I know. He's strong. He's also very fast with his jutsus overall, Hinata added with a frown. Her eye moved over to the large water wall still in the area. He was able to create the water wall jutsu with just a single hand gesture. No hand signs needed and almost instantaneously. He's got tons of chakra. He has to have about as much as I do or something, Naruto said, shaking his head. It's definitely Naruto-kun, look out! Hinata interrupted as she reached for her bow and fired an arrow behind Naruto's back. The Uzumaki turned his head in time to see one of Kakuzu's masked creatures directly behind him. Its mouth opened as it began to channel wind chakra in its mouth. It flew away as Hinata's arrow nearly hit. It reappeared directly over the tornado Naruto had formed and opened its mouth. Instantly it began to suck up the wind, absorbing it into its body. What the hell? As the wind was finished being absorbed, Kakuzu stood still in the center. He was breathing heavily and had cuts on his body, but he had an intrigued look on his face. That was Fuinjutsu, was it not? That was quite the impressive technique. You are an Uzumaki though, so that should be expected, he noted. His head titled slightly as he began to appraise the Uzumaki. I'm curious about your heart though. I might have to acquire for it my collection, in addition to the bounty I'll get when we're done. Not a chance in hell, Naruto hissed in response. It's humorous that you think you have any say in that matter. Kakuzu chuckled to himself as he made a sweeping gesture. His remaining two masked creatures appeared in front of him and opened their mouths. Weird mass torrential lightning storm. Both masks opened their mouths, releasing a deluge of water and a concentrated lightning ray that combined with each other. The water began to glow a white light as electricity courses through it as it raced through the sky towards Naruto and Hinata. Both shinobi jumped away in time, causing the water to collide against the ground. Upon impact, the water created a massive explosion, causing water droplets to rain into the air. As the droplets started to move through the air, they contacted Naruto's and Hinata's bodies. Both immediately had electricity rush through their body. Shock and pain rushed through their bodies as they tried to jump away from the remaining water droplets. God, his elemental manipulation is ruthless, Naruto hissed in pain as the electricity finally started to fade from his body. We need to finally do something about this before he overwhelms us. There's got to be a way. Hinata frowned. Think. How do we approach this guy? We need to slowly overpower him. We need to dash. Naruto's eyes widened as realization slowly entered his mind. Wait, but he isn't fighting the same way as he did earlier. He hasn't used fire techniques at all ever since Hinata smashed that first masked creature. Does that mean? Hinata, those masked creatures. We need to focus on them, Naruto noted as he pulled out a sealing paper. We need to kill those first. That? Hinata nodded her head in agreement. That makes sense. The trick is figuring out how to do it though. No, there's definitely a way. I got an idea. I'm going to need you to do your best to keep him distracted and fight him as hard as you can. I'll be trying to help as well, but I have an idea to hit fire with this guy, Naruto replied as he pulled out a pen. Kakuzu scowled, crossing his arms. You made one lucky shot on my masks, But you'll find they're harder to kill than you're thinking. Try and focus on them if you want, though. It'll make it easier for me to kill you both. No, it's definitely the right approach, and I know exactly how to do it. The water arrow technique Hinata used only killed one of his masks, the fire one. By that principle, we can focus on killing his masks one at a time, using the corresponding element. Naruto thought to himself as he started to carefully work on a seal. Masakadoji, let's see if I got another one of your seals down. You think you can keep me controlled? Fuck you! Haiden roared, still applying pressure. As he applied more force, Haiden managed to make a step forward, despite Shikamaru's control. The Nara's eyes widened. Within seconds, Haiden managed to completely free himself. Instead of rushing back to his ritual circle, however, he charged forward at Shikamaru, swinging his scythe. Die! Haiden shouted. Shikamaru quickly ran through hand signs, causing his shadow to form a barrier around him. The shadow surrounded him extended outward, shoving Haiden away further. The Akatsuki member continued to swing his scythe haphazardly against the shadow barricade for a few moments before he finally quit and turned his attention to his revenants. The fuck are you three doing? Help me with this shit, he stated. The revenants mindlessly charged forward at Shikamaru. The clawed revenant immediately started slashing away at the shadow while the winged revenant charged at it, ramming its body against it. The third proceeded to shoot a concentrated bolt of lightning at it while Haiden continued to cut at it with his scythe. Slowly but surely, cracks began to develop on the shadow barrier. God, this guy fights so aggressively. He doesn't let anyone try a defensive approach against him. Shikamaru sighed as he brought his hands together. Guess it just needs to be pure offense then. I trust Fu will be fine with that. After a few more strikes, Shikamaru's shadow barrier completely fell. Haiden grinned as he charged forward at the vulnerable Konoha shinobi, swinging his scythe. Before his blade could connect with him, Fu flew forward, grabbing Shikamaru and lifting him into the sky and to safety from Haiden's attack. Bitch, stop fucking flying away! Haiden shouted. Shikamaru-san, prepare a fire jutsu, if you would. Fu requested the Nara in her hands as she took in a deep breath. Secret ninjutsu, scaled sneak jutsu. Shikamaru nodded his head as he made hand signs. Fire style, great dragon fire jutsu. Fu breathed out her fine, white luminous powder just as Shikamaru breathed out a massive fireball with the head of a dragon at its end. The flames made contact with the powder, causing them to ignite and create massive, blinding storm of fire that quickly spread throughout the area. The flames encased Haiden and the bodies of the revenants. The revenants groaned loudly and unintelligibly as their bodies began to turn into piles of ashes. The fire started to burn into Haiden's skin, creating burns and burning into his Akatsuki robe as he quickly ran through hand signs. Within seconds, his body turned back into a pool of blood. What? Shikamaru's eyes widened in horror. What the hell kind of jutsu is that? It's... Fu tried to come up with words to best describe it, but opted to shake her head instead. Just ignore it and hope we can kill him for good. Fu and Shikamaru landed back on the ground at the same. The blood turned back into its normal form. Haiden glared at the two, gripping his scythe tightly. Fuck you both for that, he growled. His eyes traveled south, toward the visible, black burn on his chest, and he shook his head. I hate burn wounds. That shit's gonna take about a week before it heals, damn it. Couldn't you guys try and decapitate me or some shit like that? Cuts don't take nearly as long to heal. You're some serious kind of fucked up, you know that? Shikamaru questioned, shaking his head. And you're both just some weak-ass bitches. You're both actively working to prevent my ritual. Haiden shook his head, scowling. But you should know that I can fight without it. Let me show you both a personal favorite technique that Jashin-sama bestowed upon me. Haiden placed both his palms on open wounds on his body, coating his hands once again in blood. He then slammed his hands together, channeling chakra into them. All hail Jashin-sama, blood circus! As Haiden separated his palms together, a large, circular disc of blood developed in between his hands. The disc was made entirely of Haiden's blood and was colored a darker red than normal. The ends of the disc shaped into spikes and it proceeded to rotate on its own in a rapid counterclockwise pattern. What the hell dash? Shikamaru's words were cut off as Haiden proceeded to swing the disc. Die! He shouted. The disc soared through the air towards Fu and Shikamaru. Both shinobi jumped away, avoiding the attack. Instead of continuing to fly forward, however, upon missing the two, The disc proceeded to split apart into two smaller discs and change direction, flying at both shinobi. Both Shikamaru and Fu proceeded to jump away again, but the discs continued to change direction. Haiden charged forward at Shikamaru, gripping his scythe tightly. He swung his blade at Shikamaru, but the Nara sidestepped, avoiding the attack. He stepped into the radius of the blood disc, however, which made contact with Shikamaru's skin. The edge cut into his arm, creating a long, deep cut on his skin and causing traces of Haiden's blood to linger on the open wound. Shikamaru winced in pain from the initial contact as he jumped back further to put more distance. A second later, his eyes widened as a burning sensation developed on his arm. He let out a scream as his wound started to glow a white color. His arm felt as if it was on fire. What the fuck? He spat out. Oh yeah, you weren't here when I did that to the bug bitch. My blood is toxic to heathens who don't worship Jashin-sama, Haiden stated with a grin. Convert and die, Konoha heretic. The blood disc changed direction once again, flying towards Shikamaru. The Nara fought against the burning sensation that was starting to overtake his whole body and moved away again. His right hand turned green as he started to tend to his own wound. He hissed to himself as his wound started to close up. Despite that, the burning sensation was still racing throughout his body. Fu jumped to his side, a concerned look on her face. Healing the wound isn't going to fully stop it. It only will heal the physical wound. You need to remove all of his blood from your body, she told him. Gotcha. The Nara immediately stopped using his medical ninjutsu and pulled out a kunai. He quickly stabbed himself deep into his arm, causing blood to pour out. His eyes widened in pain, but slowly, the burning sensation started to die down. He had managed to remove Haiden's blood from his wound before it could travel further into his bloodstream. With the blood removed, Shikamaru returned to channeling medical ninjutsu, applying to his now larger open wound and healing it. As he started to channel the chakra, the two blood discs started to approach his and Fu's position. The Jinchuriki, once again, grabbed onto Shikamaru's body and flew, carrying him away. Don't think you can fly away from me this time, Haiden shouted as he raised his right hand. Immediately, the blood disc started to fly upwards, towards Fu's body. The Jinchuriki proceeded to move around in the air, continuously avoiding the jutsu as the discs continued to try and strike at her and Shikamaru. Ugh! The Nara grumbled as his wound started to clear up. This guy is just ruthless. We need to take him out and take him out with one singular technique, before he can either counterattack or turn into a puddle. Fire worked well the last time, but he was able to channel that blood puddle jutsu while he was still on fire. And apparently in that bloody form, fires don't simply evaporate it, he becomes completely impervious. Fu noted, frowning. Maybe. Shikamaru's eyes widened as an idea started to come to him. A smirk developed on his lips. At some point, drop me back on the ground. I think I know what we can do. I need to play this careful, Suion thought to himself as he studied the giant snake, Mamushi, in front of him. I have the hero's water in my body, but I cannot underestimate a boss summon. Especially since I have no summons of my own. I need to fight in a way that counteracts this. In a way that can distract. Fire style, twin snake flames! Anko, on top of Mamushi's head, opened her mouth at the same time as the snake. Both the snake and her summon breathed out two streams of fire, one colored red and one colored white respectively, that mixed with one another. It formed a massive conflagration of flames that raced at Suion. The Takigakure missing ninja attempted to jump away in time, but was scorched on his left leg as he tried to get away. He winced in pain as the flames started to creep up his body like a snake crawling on his body. He opened his mouth, spitting out a deluge of water that extinguished the flame as it reached his knee, but it already burned his leg badly, blackening his skin. His eyes turned to face the Konoha shinobi and the snake with anger in his eyes. I'll get overwhelmed if that's how much damage barely getting burned did to me. How can I distract? Suion's eyes widened as an idea entered his head. He started to look around the area, noticing the large buildings in the area. Most of the civilians had evacuated, but he could tell that a few were still in the area, trying to get away from the violence. A grin developed on his lips as he made a hand sign. I got an idea. Might need to get mobile, to an area where the civilians still are though. Let's see how you like this, you goody two-shoes Konoha shinobi. Water clone jutsu! Suion was immediately joined by 20 different clones that were formed from water. Suion, along with his newly formed clones, turned away from Anko and Mamushi, causing the two to narrow their eyes. What are you planning? Is he planning on running, thinking his clones can help disguise his tracks? Anko wondered. I'll make sure we kill him before he gets away. As Mamushi started to move forward, both her and Anko prepared to breathe another blast of fire at the man and his clones. Just as they were about to, however, Suyin and his clones all made the same three-hand signs. Water style, ice darts jutsu! Suyin and all 20 of his clones all opened their mouths, releasing a large deluge of water from each mouth that froze into ice as it rocketed through the air. It made contact with different sets of shops still in the area, completely collapsing them. As one of the buildings began to collapse, an elderly woman started to rush out just as the building before the collapse. What? Anko's eyes widened in horror. Why didn't that woman get out of here? Her eyes then started to move around the area. Most of the civilians in the area had managed to get out, but a few stragglers remained. A chill ran down her spine. Don't tell me. Her eyes widened in horror as she watched one of the clones lift its hand slowly, almost tauntingly. Mamushi, fire! Anko quickly jumped off Mamushi's head just as the snake opened its mouth and started to breathe out a massive burst of white fire. Anko extended her right hand. Shadow snake hands! Snakes began to rush out of Anko's coat just as the clone finally steadied his finger at the woman, who was starting to run away. Water gun jutsu! A single water droplet was launched from the clone's hand and rocketed towards the woman. The bullet was about to make contact with her head, but Anko's snakes made contact with her first. The necks of the snakes surrounded the woman's waist and pulled, dragging the woman away and just barely avoiding the bullet. The woman was pulled to Anko's side just in time as Mamushi unleashed her massive stream of fire. Suyin and a majority of his clones were able to jump away in time, but 2 of them were unable to get away and were dispersed immediately, turning back into a puddle of water. Thank you? The woman managed to breathe out, borderline near tears. Ma'am, don't thank me. Just get out of here safely, Anko told her sharply as she dropped her snake's grip on the woman. The woman nodded as she began to run away, heading in the opposite direction. Anko then turned her attention back to Suyin and his clones, were starting to move away from their current battlefield. Her eyes widened in horror. He's just trying to do as much damage as he can to Taki before he dies, Anko realized. Mamushi, let's go! The Jonin shouted. The giant snake nodded her head as she started to dig a tunnel underground, preparing to sneak up on Suyin. Anko, meanwhile, started to run after Suyin, on the ground. The missing ninja noticed that the Konoha Jonin was giving him chase. A smirk developed on his lips. Predictable. Konoha shinobi are just too damn self-righteous. I'll be able to trap her in an area with a higher civilian count. His smirk turned malicious as he started to turn through hand signs. If this really is where I die, I better at least make sure I go down with a respectable amount of Takigakure bodies alongside me. Water style, surf strike! Suyin made a sweeping gesture with his hands, one his clones replicated. Water rose up from the ground underneath them as they started to surf it, moving faster as the water pushed them further away from the nearly evacuated Takigakure Market Center and towards more residential areas. Weird mass torrential lightning storm! Kakuzu's water and lightning mask opened their mouth as they released their combination jutsu, creating a massive ray of electrified water aimed at Naruto and Hinata. Instead of dodging the attack, however, Naruto continued to work on a particular seal as Hinata dropped into a stance. Protection of the 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Hinata began to rotate her hands in a circular pattern around her body, creating chakra streaks that formed a blue, rotating, visible shield around the Konoha shinobi. The water lightning jutsu struck with the barrier, but was unable to pierce it, creating a massive explosion. The jutsu created various water droplets into the air charged with electricity that tried to enter Hinata's barrier, but they were unable to do so. The chakra streams managed to cut into them. That barrier, it appears to be using chakra threads to slice away the elemental attacks around it. A very elegant, refined barrier when it comes to ninjutsu, Kakuzu noted as he started to crouch down slightly. However, I wonder how durable it is to raw strength. Kakuzu charged forward, pulling back his fist. His fist darkened in color once again as he reached Hinata's chakra thread barrier. He then swung his fist as hard as he could into the barrier, the chakra threads cutting into his fist. He winced slightly, feeling the skin on his fist getting cut into, but continued to apply pressure. Within seconds, the Akatsuki member's attack proved too much, staggering Hinata out of her rotation and destroying the barrier. Naruto and Hinata did not have time to react. Kakuzu punched Hinata straight in the chest, sending her flying backwards, coughing up blood. Hinata-chan! Naruto quickly pocketed his seal as he jumped back and caught Hinata. Just as he grabbed her, the three masked creatures jumped around them, forming a triangular pattern. Kakuzu smirked as the creatures opened their mouths. Ninja Art, Elemental Delta Strike! Naruto jumped away with Hinata as the masks released their elemental jutsus, which collided and formed a cyclone mixture of water and lightning. As Naruto was flying in the air, Kakuzu extended his right hand and the tendrils on his arms started to detach. His fist was sent flying in the sky towards Naruto. The fist connected with his face, causing him to drop Hinata and get sent back flying into the vortex. And Naruto-kun! Hinata gasped. The Uzumaki shouted in pain as the cyclone tore into him, pounding him with water and cutting his skin with wind, while electricity raced through his body. Despite the overwhelming force of the jutsu, Naruto managed to fall down to the ground in the cyclone, making a hand sign just as he made contact with the earth. Having recovered from getting herself, Hinata turned her attention back to Kakuzu and started running through hand signs. Water style, giant vortex jutsu! The water from the battlefield began to raise up, forming a giant orb that released a deluge of water pounding towards Kakuzu. His lightning mask rushed in between his body and the oncoming water, however, and opened its mouth. Lightning style, false darkness. The mask emitted a beam of lightning that made direct contact with the oncoming blast of water, splitting it in half. The water fell apart, falling back to the ground, as the lightning continued to fly towards Hinata. The Hyuga proceeded to bring her hands together and swung them rapidly, creating her barrier of chakra threads around her body for a moment. The threads tore into the oncoming lightning, dissipating it. Hinata cancelled her jutsu just in time as Kakuzu detached his left fist from his arm, sending his fist flying towards her. She dodged in air and proceeded to fall to the ground, channeling chakra back into her hands. Upon hitting the ground, her hands were covered in the blue, lion-faced chakra shroud as she charged again Kakuzu. I have to admit, you fight well, Hyuga Hinata. Kakuzu noted as he dodged a punch from the Hyuga. What's that supposed to mean? Hinata questioned as she attempted to punch Kakuzu again. The Akatsuki member chuckled to himself as he dodged again and punched at her. His fist connected with her face with less force than before, only knocking her back slightly. He then charged at her again, but she caught her footing and sidestepped, avoiding the attack. She then landed a punch to the man's face, pushing him back slightly. Exactly what I said? Kakuzu spoke, chuckling again. You'll also fetch me an extraordinary profit on the black market. You'll receive nothing. You're dying today! Hinata shouted back as she swung her fist once again at Kakuzu. The Akatsuki member jumped back, avoiding her attack, only for the ground underneath his feet to start to crack. He proceeded to sidestep just as Naruto jumped out of the underground again, a Rasengan formed in his palm. Kakuzu grabbed Naruto by the neck and gripped him tightly, a bored look on his face. You already tried that once, and it did not even work properly the first time. Kakuzu informed him sharply, tightening his grip. Immediately, the ground by his masked creatures started to crack. Kakuzu's eyes widened as they went to them, then back to Naruto. They widened further as the Naruto in his hands disappeared in a poof of smoke. It was a clone. Naruto jumped out of the ground underneath Kakuzu's wind mask and immediately slammed a sealing paper onto its back. The creature reached onto its back to pull off the paper just as Naruto made a hand sign. Uzumaki Fuinjutsu, Inferno! The sealing tag turned a bright blue color before it released a massive blue flame that completely overtook the mask. The water mask immediately released a ball of water from its mouth at the flame on the wind mask, but the flame was not extinguished. It traveled all over the masked creature's body until the flames overtook it, burning it completely to ash. URK! Kakuzu, feeling his connection to another heart destroyed, proceeded to fall to one knee and choke up blood. My wind heart, damn you, brat. 2 down. 2 more to go, Naruto said bluntly, eyeing the water and lightning masks. His attention then moved to Kakuzu. Actually, 3 to go. Fucking brat, Kakuzu snarled. The Akatsuki member gestured back to his body, causing his lightning and water masks to rush back to his body and join again with his back. He looked over at Naruto in anger, shaking his head. Calm down, Kakuzu, he told himself. I'm letting myself get angry. I just need to fight defensively. Keep them away from myself and my masks. Maybe show this Jinchuriki and his friends some of my own elemental skills. Just cause you brought your masks back to your side doesn't mean we can't do anything to them, Naruto said sharply. Well, let's see what you can do then, Kakuzu challenged as he made hand signs. Earth style, stalagmite. Stomping on the watery battleground, large spikes of stones began to arise from the ground underneath Naruto's and Hinata's feet. The two shinobi jumped away, but the ground continued to open up, creating more and more stalagmites. Water style, tormenting ocean. Kakuzu made a sweeping gesture with his hands, causing the water-covered battleground to become restless again, creating massive waves. Naruto continued to jump out of the way of the waves, but Hinata was caught by surprise as a wave rose up from under feet. The wave knocked her into the air before rising higher than her and slamming into her body, causing her to get smacked into one of the newly formed stalagmites. She choked up more blood in response. Naruto continued to avoid each wave as they formed and ran towards Kakuzu's position. The Akatsuki member raised his right hand, causing another wall of water to form directly between himself and Naruto. The Uzumaki proceeded to generate a Rasengan in his hands and shoved the orb into the newly formed water wall, causing it to rupture instantly. Kakuzu made another sweeping gesture with his hands, causing more waves to form. These waves managed to smack into Naruto all at once, forcing the Uzumaki down underwater. With the Jinchuriki underwater, Kakuzu's lightning mask detached from his back and crept down onto the watery battlefield. It opened its mouth, charging up a jutsu. Lightning dash! Kakuzu stopped channeling his jutsu as he noticed a barrage of arrows coming his way, aimed at him and his mask. The mask immediately returned to his body as Kakuzu dodged each individual arrow. Hinata came running at him, her arms shrouded with blue chakra, which caused him to tense up, preparing to fight. Uzumaki Fuinjutsu, Hurricane Manifestation! Underneath the water, 3 massive tornadoes rose up around Kakuzu, completely blocking him from moving behind or to his side. The Akatsuki member tried to move forward, but the wind's movement seemingly sucked him in place. It took all of his energy not to get sucked into any of the 3 tornadoes. This Fuinjutsu, it's holding me in place. Damn it! Kakuzu inwardly growled. Hinata reached him quickly and immediately entered a stance. Kakuzu's eyes narrowed on her as his skin started to darken in tone. Earth style, iron skin! Gentle step, 8 trigrams 64 palms. Hinata slammed her lion fists into Kakuzu's body. Her eyes focused in on his body, analyzing any possible weak spots on his iron skin, as she continued on her offensive. 2 palms! 4 palms! 8 palms! 16 palms! As Hinata began to continuously strike at Kakuzu's body, his iron skin started to slowly crack. Hinata's lion fists slowly drained the chakra used to hold up the jutsu, causing it to slowly fall apart. Impossible! Kakuzu's eyes widened as he tried to pull himself away. The vortex of the winds, however, continued to hold him in place. Damn it! 32 palms! Hinata's strikes finally pierced the iron skin, causing it all to fall apart, and Kakuzu's skin to turn to normal. Hinata then started to pound into his body, focusing intently on his chest. 8 trigrams 64 palms! With 2 final strikes from both of her lion-covered palms, Hinata struck Kakuzu's chest, piercing it and completely smashing into own heart. He choked up blood and fell on both of his knees. After finishing her blow, Hinata jumped back away. The tornadoes began to fade away. Before anything else, though, the water underneath Kakuzu's feet opened up as Naruto jumped above water, a large orb of chakra in his hands. Odama Rasengan! Naruto forced the Rasengan into Kakuzu's back. The Akatsuki member's lightning mask adjusted its position in time, but the water mask was unable to get away in time. The Jinchuriki's jutsu collided with it head-on. The amount of pressure knocked Kakuzu into the air as the mask started to crumble, falling apart. On cue, the water on the battleground started to evaporate. The newly formed stalagmites sank back into the ground as well. Within seconds, the area returned to the dilapidated, treeless forest it was prior to Kakuzu. Kakuzu's body rose up into the sky before it fell back down to the ground, motionless. Naruto and Hinata stood still, watching him intently. I got his actual heart, Hinata noted intently. Would that be enough? As if answering his question, the man's earth grudge fear jutsu answered her question. The tendrils on his chest opened up unconsciously as the lightning mass quickly rushed inside, taking the place of his original heart. Upon reintegrating with his chest, Kakuzu's eyes opened up and he jumped backwards. The man breathed heavily as he continued to create distance between himself and the two Konoha shinobi. My water heart, and my earth heart, the one I've always had. He spoke softly, but each word carried an extensive amount of venom. Bastards! Mission is compromised. I have to leave. The Akatsuki member realized. I only have one life, and it's not my original heart, so I feel weak, too weak. I refuse to die here like this, Kakuzu stated sharply, making a hand sign. Lightning style, overdrive. Summoning all his chakra and energy possible, Kakuzu's body began to radiate electricity. The electricity ran through his body, through his nerves, brain, and muscles, increasing his speed. Upon channeling this lightning chakra throughout his body, the man immediately ran from the battleground back to the center of Takigakure. Hey! Naruto shouted. You're not getting away! We won't let you! With those words, Naruto and Hinata rushed off, following the fleeing Akatsuki member. Kakuzu's on his last heart, and he's made the decision to flee. Black Setsu noted, shaking his head. Mission is going to get called off, then. Hayden won't be able to get the Nanabai Jinchuriki by himself. So this ended up being a waste of time for us. White Setsu pouted, shaking its head. Both Madara-sama and Pain will be disappointed and angry. Disappointment is irrelevant. They'll have to channel all focus and resources into the mission in Kumogakure. Black Setsu shook his head. It doesn't matter. Kakuzu is already on retreat, so he doesn't matter. He'll get out if he can. We need to inform Hayden to get out of there while he can. Right. White Setsu nodded in agreement. With those words, Setsu vanished as it started to move towards the battlefield. Stand still, bastards! Hayden roared as he made a sweeping gesture with his hands. The blood discs in the sky proceeded to speed up and fly towards Fu and Shikamaru at two separate angles. Fu tightened her grip on the Nara as she started to twirl, increasing her speed as she moved downward, avoiding both blood discs. This is pissing me off. Fine, I'll switch tactics again. Hayden grit his teeth as he started to run through hand signs. All hail Jashin-sama, blood rain. The two floating blood discs converged with one each other, creating one singular, large blood disc. The disc then started rotating in place rapidly, which caused blood to start raining from the disc at various angles. Fu attempted to avoid the oncoming rain, but was unable to do so. The blood rain droplets were too close together to avoid completely. The rain made contact with both hers and Shikamaru's skin, causing them both to scream as pain coursed through their bodies. A burning sensation completely developed that grew and grew as more blood made contact with them. Fu was overcome with pain and ended up dropping Shikamaru. She immediately realized what she had done and her eyes widened in horror. Shikamaru-san. The Nara groaned in pain from the burning sensation of Hayden's blood. He managed to land on the ground on his feet, somehow, but was immediately greeted by Hayden, who was already by his side, swinging his scythe. The blood was also covering Hayden's body, but it had seemingly no effect on him. The man had a maniacal grin on his face. Let's see how well you can avoid me without the bug bitch flying you to safety, Hayden shouted. He swung his blade at Shikamaru, who jumped back to avoid the strike. He then made a hand sign. Shadow Possession Jutsu! Shikamaru's shadow rushed forward on the ground towards Hayden's shadow. Hayden, however, ran to the side, avoiding the Konoha Jonin's technique. You already got me with that technique once by surprise. You're not gonna get me again! Hayden roared with laughter as he made another hand sign. The blood disk in the sky started to rain harder, creating a downpour, concentrating mostly on Shikamaru's body. The blood rain pressed down on his skin, causing him to scream in pain loudly. Shikamaru's eyes focused on his hands. For example, the blood rain was starting to actually burn his skin, not just create a situation. Damn it! He inwardly growled. Hayden rushed forward at Shikamaru. The Nara attempted to avoid the next strike, but he was in too much pain. The Akatsuki member managed to swing his scythe at him fast enough for Shikamaru to not fully jump away. The man cut at his cheek, drawing Shikamaru's blood. He then brought it to his mouth, licking it, as he eyed his ritual circle. Well, that was fun while it lasted, Hayden stated with a grin. Time to die dash. The Akatsuki member's words died on his throat as he felt himself unable to move his body. He tried with all of his might to pull himself towards his ritual circle, but he was unable to do so. He felt his head turn, which caused him to notice that his shadow and Shikamaru's were connected. His eyes widened in horror. "How?" he asked. "For a man who said that he wouldn't get hit by the same technique twice, you really messed it up," Shikamaru noted. His breathing was rather hard, as if it was difficult for him to talk. "Fuck you, son of a bitch!" Haiden growled. Shikamaru ignored the man's swearing as he ran through hand signs. "Fire style, Shadow Ignite Jutsu!" Fire rose up from Shikamaru's shadow, completely covering Haiden's body in the flames. The man started to howl in pain as fire encased him. Is this really the best you got for me?" Haiden shouted loudly. The man continued to resist Shikamaru's shadow to the best of his abilities, even if he wasn't able to pull himself out. "I am blessed by Jashin-sama. I have seen visions of the eternal flames of hell that awaits sinners in the afterlife. Some petty flames from a Konoha blasphemer is not going to kill me." As Haiden continued to scream and shout, the blood disk in the sky continued to pour rain. The rain, however, changed direction, focusing solely on Haiden's body. The rain pounded onto Haiden's body and the fires around him. To Shikamaru's surprise, the rain started to slowly extinguish his flames. "I can't believe it!" Shikamaru bit his lip as he struggled to keep his fire burning around Haiden's body. He can't move his body, but he is still able to channel chakra into that blood rain technique he was using. "I've never seen something like this before. Who the hell is this guy?" Within seconds, Haiden's head and torso were now free from the flames. The rest of his body was still covered, but the rain was continuing to pound on them. Within seconds, the fire would be completely extinguished. "Damn it!" Shikamaru mumbled. "My chakra's fading. He's going to overpower the flames and my shadow soon, then." "Shikamaru-san! Allow me!" The Nara turned his attention towards Fu. The Jinchuriki took in a deep breath before more of the Nanabai's chakra began to surround her body. Within seconds, her body was completely encased in a dark red-black chakra. "Fu, you have control, right?" Komiai questioned. "I know you're not used to the second form. You have control?" I do," Fu mumbled to her Biju. She was taking in deep breaths, trying to maintain it. "I don't think I can stay like this long, or your chakra will overwhelm me." "That's fine. Shikamaru-san has the man completely immobile. Just hit him hard once," the Nanabai declared. Fu nodded her head as she quickly flew into the air, directly above Haiden's body. She flew into the sky, at the altitude of the clouds, before she started to turn her body downward, her body rotating in a circular pattern. Cocoon-like strings encased her body, forming what resembled a horn on her head as she barreled through the sky. The Jinchuriki bolted downward. She made direct contact with Haiden's blood disk in the sky, piercing it completely. The giant disk ruptured, raining all its contents down at once on top of Haiden's body, extinguishing the flames entirely. Fu, however, continued to fly directly at the man. "Komiai Hurricane!" The Jinchuriki's spinning body rushed straight into Haiden's body, hitting the man straight through the chest. The force of the impact was too much. Haiden's body was cut down in half, separating his torso from his waist. "Ah!" Haiden screamed loudly from his top half. His eyes focused on his bottom waist before they turned to face Fu. "You fucking asshole!" Fu did not reply to the Akatsuki member's screaming. She immediately stopped channeling Komiai's chakra, causing her body to lose all of its demonic, dark red coloring. Her appearance turned back to normal as she started to breathe heavily. I'm useless. I can't even enter Form 2 for longer than a minute before I have to cancel," she mumbled to herself. "Damn it. Are you alright, Fu?" Shikamaru questioned. The Nara rushed over to Fu's side. Fu nodded her head in response. Both he and the Jinchuriki were breathing heavily, feeling overwhelmed from the fight. They turned their heads toward Haiden, who was screaming obscenities. "You don't want to know what I'll do to you when I get my hands on you. I'll fucking murder you so hard that the flames of hell will be a relief to you," he continued to scream. I don't think can fight like this," Shikamaru noted with a sigh of relief. "We should dash." Before Shikamaru could finish his statement, a large, Venus flytrap-like creature appeared, wearing the Akatsuki robes, from under the ground, directly at Hayden's side. What the hell is that thing? Fu's eyes widened in horror. My Hayden! Do we have to bail you out again? White Setsu spoke mockingly, a grin on its face. We really have to quit meeting like this. You are always just little parts and pieces after a fight with a Jinchuriki, you know? Fuck off, Setsu. Hayden growled. I can still dash, still what? Your body was cut in half. Again. You can't fight like this and you know it. Black Setsu retorted, scowling. This mission is over. Kakuzu already started to retreat. We're getting you out. Immediately, Fu's eyes narrowed on the plant creature as she started to channel chakra into her mouth. You're not getting away! Wind style, drilling air bullets! Fu breathed out a barrage of air bullets straight at Setsu's body. The creature, however, sank into the ground, avoiding all of the attacks. It reappeared within a few seconds, however, with its white side grabbing onto Hayden's waist and its black side grabbing onto Hayden's torso. Nanabai Jinchuriki, you are lucky that we aren't much for fighting. Otherwise we'd be inclined to completely eradicated you for that attack. White Setsu spoke with a chuckle. Enough rambling. Let's get out of here. Black Setsu ordered. Ugh! Hayden groaned. I can't believe this happened to me twice. God! I need to up my training again. With those words, Setsu sunk underground, dragging Hayden's body with him. Fu and Shikamaru were left alone. Damn it, that man got away! Fu noted, scowling. And that Hayden person is still alive. God, how? How do we actually kill him? We need to see what's going on. Shikamaru questioned before he fell to one knee. Ugh! Fu's eyes turned to focus on the Nara. Shikamaru was trying to apply healing ninjutsu to his wounds. A sigh escaped her lips as she, too, could feel Komiai's chakra rushing through her body, desperately trying to heal her own wounds. If anything, thank God this fight is over. The two remained motionless for a moment as they tried to fully recover from their fight with Hayden. Kakuzu breathed heavily as he made his way through Takigekyu's streets. The electricity racing through his body powered his steps, allowing him to rush through the village rapidly. As the Akatsuki member made his way through the village, he noticed all the dilapidated buildings and the various fires throughout the districts. He noticed bodies all over the area. He made note of all the Akatsuki forehead protectors he saw, as well as all those in civilian clothes. This invasion, it wasn't a success for Akatsuki, but it was a success for Suien. Takigekure is destroyed. Kakuzu realized. As the man rationalized that thought, his eyes widened as he felt a presence. He looked up above in time to see a barrage of water arrows raining from the sky. Kakuzu proceeded to sidestep as he moved forward, barely avoiding each arrow. Damn it! He swore. They're getting close to me. I'm within range of that Hyuga's long-range arrow technique. There's a realistic chance they'll catch up to me soon. And in my current condition, they'll kill me. There's a chance I can get away, but I might not be able to overdrive technique help me get distance, but they may be able to catch up when the jutsu fades. There's a non-zero chance I don't escape with my life. He realized, but there's a 100% chance that if I turn around, I can damage Takigekure more and more. I've lived a long life, over 90 years. I've seen a lot. I've had a successful life with plenty of money. I can say I lived life the way it was meant to be. The man rationalized. I don't want to die, but I could die knowing that much. And I could guarantee the one thing that I always wanted to in my life, the absolute destruction of Takigekure. I may not be able to kill that failed leader Shibuki, but I can ensure he has no village to go back to. I know exactly where any remaining shinobi and civilians would be hiding, if they are. And I'll make sure to pay them a visit. Kakuzu's eyes steeled. With the thought in mind, the Akatsuki member changed direction, bolting onto the lake around Takigekure. Naruto-kun, Kakuzu's changing direction! Hinata shouted. The two Konoha Jonin had been pursuing Kakuzu and were close to catching up on the man when the Hyuga, gripping her bow tightly in her hands, noticed that the man started to run a different way. Where's he going? Naruto questioned as the two Konoha shinobi started to change directions themselves. Hinata was quiet for a moment, assessing Kakuzu's path. The man was moving along the lake around Takigekure. He was going in a direction seemingly away from everything else in the village. The Hyuga could not figure out the Akatsuki member's goal until, at the edge of her vision, she could see a Takigekure shinobi escorting a civilian into a small cave in the lake. Her eyes widened in horror at the realization. Naruto-kun, he's heading straight for where all of the civilians and the wounded are being held. Hinata exclaimed. How does he know where to go? That doesn't matter. We have to hurry then, Naruto shouted. Both Konoha shinobi continued to race through Takigakure towards the lake, heading to stop Kakuzu from whatever he was attempting to do. It took Suin a moment before he and his clones arrived in one of Takigakure's residential districts, still surfing on top of large waves of water each. The man noticed a few Takigakure shinobi were in the area, helping to still escort some of the remaining civilians to safety. A smirk developed on his lips as he and his clones turned their focus towards them one shinobi who was escorting 3 civilians. Water style, surf strike! The waves of water seemingly doubled in size as Suin and his water clones rushed forward at the group. The Takigakure shinobi turned to the group immediately while the civilians recoiled, standing behind him. The shinobi brought his hands together before creating a dome of rock around himself and the civilians. You think that's gonna stop me? Suin howled with laughter. Within seconds, the crashing waves slammed into the rock dome. Almost instantly, the dome crumbled. The water then continued to rampage forward into the 4. The 3 civilians were knocked onto the ground as Suin jumped down on top of the shinobi. The Takigakure missing ninja brought his right hand to the man's head as a water droplet began to form while the man tried to pull Suin off him. Water gun jutsu! Immediately, the droplet raced through the man's skull, piercing it and his brain. Blood splattered as the Takigakure shinobi stopped struggling and his head hit the ground, hard. No! We're going to die! One of the civilians cried as he started to run away, leaving the other 2 behind. Heh! Suin smirked as he pointed his index finger. Another water droplet formed and was released, blasting the civilian through the heart. The man immediately fell to the ground as a pool of blood formed around him. Yup, you died at least. Suin then turned his attention to the other 2 civilians. And you both are next! The 2, a father and his daughter, immediately cowered, the father holding onto his daughter tightly in his arms, as if trying to shield her. As another water droplet formed in Suin's, he felt the ground underneath starting to shake. He immediately cancelled the jutsu as he jumped back, joining rank with his clones, just as Mamushi popped out from underground. You too! Enko shouted as she jumped into the area, next to the civilians. She reached her hand out to the father, who hesitantly took it. Please grab onto the snake right here. She'll take you to safety dash. Before Enko could finish her sentence, Suin launched a water droplet at her heart. The Konoha Jonin sensed his attack and tried to dodge it, but the attack ran through her shoulder, piercing it and causing her to bleed. Her hand immediately went to her shoulder. Damn it! She hissed in pain as she quickly turned her attention back to the 2 civilians. Go with her! Alarmed at her voice, the father nodded his head quickly. Still holding on to his sobbing daughter, he quickly reached for Mamushi. The large snake quickly pulled the 2 civilians with her as she dived back underground. You're trying to get civilians involved in this, you fucking asshole! Enko turned her attention to Suin, who was already starting to create another wave for him and his clones to ride on. Quit that shit! Fire style, circles of inferno! Channeling large fireballs in her hands, Enko proceeded to toss them at Suin and his clones. Her flames managed to make contact with many of the clones, causing them to turn back into water and evaporate, but Suin and 5 of his remaining clones avoided the attack. They continued to ride their waves, rushing away from Enko, heading further into the residential area. Get back here, you fucking coward! Enko roared. Her eyes looked around the area and noticed, in the distance, a steel pole from a building that was sticking out due to the destruction. She held out her right hand. Shadow snake hands! Snakes rushed out of Enko's coat, which bit down onto the steel pole. The snakes then pulled back on Enko, causing her to race forwards the pole. Enko then spotted another tree that was miraculously still standing despite the destruction around it. The snakes reached for a branch on the tree, bringing her over to it. Enko continued to use her snakes to chase after Suin and his clones. Thanks to her snakes helping her race through the air, she began to close the distance between her and them. As she continued to swing forward, Enko began to channel her chakra into her mouth. Fire style, majestic destroyer flame! Enko breathed out a massive amount of fire that was combined with the flames around her body. The fire raced forward, ahead of Suin and his water clones, creating a giant wall of flames in front of them, stopping Suin and his clones from moving more forward. The fire then started to move forward, ebbing and flowing like a sea of flames itself. As the flames collided with the waves Suyin had formed, the fire proved more powerful, causing to evaporate. Suyin jumped into the air as the flames quickly overwhelmed his clones and all of the water, evaporating them. Suyin attempted to jump on top one of the buildings, but Anko, who had been swinging from landmark to landmark, flew through the air and met up with him. One of her snakes made contact with his leg, catching him. "Shit!" he cursed as he winced from the pain of the snake biting into him. Anko proceeded to turn her arm around, causing the snake to throw Suyin's body to the ground hard. She then allowed herself to fall on top of him, her knee slamming into his stomach. He choked up blood in response. "Damn it!" he growled as he tried to punch her off. His first punch connected with Anko's face, causing her to wince from the pain. She did not, however, get off of him. She then caught his second punch as she then adjusted her body, completely pinning him to the floor. The Konoha Jonin then made a gesture with her head, which caused the sea of flames to rush forward towards the two shinobi. "This is the end for you, Saiyan," Anko said, shaking her head. "Pathetic. Running away from our fight like that just to take some other lives down with you. You are literally scum. I had a goal coming here, you know." Saiyan growled out. His eyes focused on the oncoming flames for a brief second before he turned to look at Anko with pure hatred. "Conquering Taki would have been preferred, but I wanted to at least destroy it. And I already accomplished that, bitch! Taki will survive this. It will survive you," she informed him. "I don't think you get it. Enough damage has been done to this village. Enough lives have been lost. This is a minor village without the population or resources a village like Konoha has. I've done what I needed to. This village's demise is imminent." Suyin added as a laugh escaped his lips. "You nosy Konoha assholes can't save this. Taki is as good as sunk." Anko grit her teeth. She was about to continue speaking, but she noticed that her sea of flames had now surrounded her and Suyin. With a shake of her head, she loosened her grip on Suyin and jumped away, just in time as the sea of flames closed in. The missing ninja screamed in pain as he tried to channel in as much chakra as he could. He spat out a torrent of water from his mouth that helped extinguish much of the fire, but the sea of flames had seemingly no end. Nevertheless, he continued to try, using all of the extra chakra the hero's water had given him. Within a minute of trying, the entire sea of fire was extinguished. Suyin's body, however, had been completely charred. He no longer resembled the man that he was. The second his body stopped releasing water, almost on cue, he collapsed onto the ground, dead. "Wretched man!" Anko shook her head, scowling. Her eyes then wandered around Takigakure, taking in the village in its current state. Buildings were toppled over. A few of the buildings and trees were on fire. Many bodies were lying on the ground, bodies of Takigakure shinobi, invaders, and civilians alike. The area itself was now quiet. All in this residential area had either been evacuated or were killed. The area did not feel anything like the Takigakure she had only just stepped foot into a few days ago. "No. I refuse to believe that a man as pathetic as Suyin accomplished his goal." Anko shook her head, scowling, as she started to run. "No, Taki will live. I'll make sure of that." Anko proceeded to run forward through Takigakure, looking for any other enemy shinobi or any living Takigakure shinobi or civilian. "Guys! I sense something coming towards us." Within the cave at the edge of Takigakure, where the civilians and wounded shinobi were gathered, 20 able-bodied Taki shinobi stood guarding the entrance, all with weapons drawn and jutsu ready to utilize on any intruder. The rest of the able-bodied shinobi were either fighting the intruders or bringing back anyone else they could to the large cave. The shinobi had turned their attention towards Karyudo Asuna, who spoke with a deep frown on her face. "What do you sense? Is it a threat?" a Taki shinobi asked her. I sense a large chakra presence coming our way. I felt it before when this invasion began. It feels a lot weaker than it did at the beginning, but it's still powerful," Asuna replied. Her eyes steeled itself on the hole to the cave. "The presence is coming! Get ready to fight it! Tokudo, get ready!" Another Takigakure shinobi shouted. One more Taki shinobi, a muscular young man with short brown hair and tan skin, nodded his head in understanding. He made a series of hand signs. "Earth style, earth barricade!" Within seconds, the hole in the cave was sealed up with stone. The man, Tokudo, made another hand sign, causing another layer or earth to develop around it. "Lightning style, false darkness!" A large beam of lightning pierces the earth barricade, completely smashing all of the stones, scattering them on the ground. Kakuzu jumps down into the cave, electricity still coursing around his body. The Takigakure shinobi in the room gasp in a mixture of astonishment, horror, and determination. Keikakuzu. One of the wounded shinobi mutters the name. One of the civilians recognized the name of the missing ninja. Her eyes widened in horror. We're going to die. Stand your ground, Takuto stated sharply to the able-bodied shinobi. Don't give him an edge! The Taki shinobi clapped his hands together as he stepped down on the ground, causing a stalagmite to rush up at Kakuzu. The Akatsuki member jumped forward, avoiding the attack, and came face to face with Takuto. Stone formed around the Takigakure shinobi's hands as he attempted to punch the man in, but Kakuzu caught the man's fist with his right hand. With his left hand completely covered in electricity still, he punched the man in his chest, piercing his skin and smashing his heart. He then pulled his hand, causing the man to fall to the ground dead. We're all going to die! A civilian screamed, causing the remaining civilians to start panicking even more as well. Pathetic. This is what counts as a Takigakure shinobi in this era? Kakuzu said with a snarl, his breathing still heavy. I'm beyond weakened. On my last heart, and still effortlessly can kill you all? 6 more of the shinobi surrounded Kakuzu's body, all tossing kunai with explosive tags on them at the man. Kakuzu swung his body around in a counterclockwise pattern, causing electricity to escape his hands and form a circle around him. The electricity intercepted the kunai, causing the tags to explode early. Smoke proceeded to cover the battlefield. The Taki shinobi braced themselves, ready for Kakuzu to jump out any moment. Lightning style, false darkness discharge. A beam of lightning rushed forward from the smoke towards one of the Takigakure shinobi. She was unable to jump away in time and electricity completely encased her body. The lightning then used body as a conduit, and rushed out of her body towards the nearest shinobi around her. The lightning traveled until it completely encased all 6 shinobi around Kakuzu. The electricity coursing their bodies caused them all to scream before it overwhelmed them, killing them. As the smoke finally cleared, Kakuzu became visible. He opened his mouth, causing another lightning beam to escape his lips and rush through the cave. The beam connected with a civilian, who tried to scurry away, but was unable to get away in time. She screamed as the electricity coursed through her body until she finally stopped shouting. I know precisely where you Taki shinobi would take your wounded and defenseless. This damn cave at the edge of the village. Typical. Nothing about this village has changed in over 90 years. It's the same weak, useless, pathetic village it always has been. Kakuzu noted with an unamused chuckle. It's shit, like this, that has kept this village a minor village. As Kakuzu took a step forward, Asuna rushed forward at the man, gripping her scythe. She attempted to swing her blade at the man's neck, but Kakuzu ducked. He appeared directly in front of the kunoichi, reaching out for her scythe. He quickly pulled the blade out of her grip and tossed it away. I know you're Zeijai's daughter, he noted, a smirk on his lips. How amusing. Half the fighter he was, but still more admirable. He pulled his right hand back, as it conducted electricity. Save a spot in hell for your old man. Before his fist could make contact with Asuna, Naruto and Hinata jumped into the cave from the entrance. Naruto rushed up to the man, creating a large Rasengan in his right palm. He attempted to slam it into Kakuzu's back, but Kakuzu turned around in time to slam his lightning-covered fist into the orb. The resulting explosion created a massive dust cloud in the room as both Naruto and Kakuzu were forced backwards. Are those the Konoha shinobi? One of the civilians questioned. Are they here to help us? That kunoichi and one of the other ones helped escort us here, another added. We might be safe, a third civilian added. Ack! Kakuzu hissed in pain as he looked at his hand. He had used it to block Naruto's jutsu, and it was now covered in blood. Damn it! Kakuzu, just stop. You're dying here, Naruto said sharply. I know. Kakuzu shook his head, a scowl developing on his lips as he made hand signs. I already made peace with that realization, but that doesn't mean I can't take others down with me. Hinata-chan! Naruto shouted. Got it! Hinata shouted as she got down into a stance. Lightning style, earth flash. Protection of the 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Kakuzu slammed his palms onto the ground, generating a massive amount of electricity. The electricity entered the ground and started to rush forward towards the various shinobi and civilian in the room. Hinata, meanwhile, started to rotate her arms around her body in a circular pattern, creating streaks of blue, visible chakra around her body. Instead of creating a barrier, Hinata aimed her chakra streaks rapidly towards the ground, aiming for each individual bolt of electricity on the ground. The streaks pierced each electrical bolt as it rushed through the ground, preventing it from reaching any person in the room. Hinata continued to rotate as fast as she could as Kakuzu continued to generate more and more bolts of electricity. Naruto, meanwhile, created another massive orb of chakra in his hand as he started to run towards Kakuzu. Kakuzu did not seem to even glance at Naruto's body. He simply concentrated on sending out more and more electricity. He grit his teeth together as he started to pound his palms further into the ground. His bleeding hand started to coat the ground in blood. More! Kakuzu screamed. Lightning style, earth flash! Kurama Rasengan! Kakuzu managed to release one massive blast of lightning from his palms into the ground that rushed forward. Hinata tried her best to cut into every bolt of electricity, but she was unable to block them all. She watched the bolts of lightning strike at 10 of the civilians in the room, 3 of the wounded shinobi, and 4 of the still active shinobi. All screamed in pain for a brief moment as the electricity overwhelmed them. Naruto shoved the massive Rasengan into Kakuzu's body. The force of the sphere shoved Kakuzu away into the wall of the cave. The Rasengan slowly tore at Kakuzu's skin, cutting all the tendrils in body and causing blood to start to flow all around him. The mass that was stuck in his chest was forced out and was immediately vaporized by the sheer force of the technique. I lost. I am dead, finally, the Akatsuki member noted. He could feel his eyes shutting and his body shutting down, his last heart beginning to cease pumping. With the last of his energy, he looked around the cave, taking in all the dead bodies of Takigakure shinobi and civilians. But I lived long enough to see Takigakure fall. When Naruto's jutsu faded, Kakuzu's body fell to the ground, finally dead. The invasion of Takigakure was finally over,